Shea Stadium in New York for Game 4 on a gorgeous night. Temperature in the 50s. Yesterday it was in the 40s and felt as if it was in the 20s. Tonight it feels as if it's in the 60s. Very pleasant. And moments ago, Tom Seaver, number 41, who had his number retired. A big day for him this summer at Shea Stadium, throwing out the ceremonial first pitch. And Dwight Gooden warming up for the New York Mets. And he'll face this Dodger lineup tonight. Steve Sachs leading off. And then Mickey Hatcher in the lineup again, batting second. Kirk Gibson struggling at 1 for 11, bats third. The cleanup hitter is Mike Marshall. John Shelby, the switch hitting center fielder, hits fifth. Mike Scioscia is back of the plate. Third baseman Jeff Hamilton hits in the number 7 spot. Alfredo Griffin, the shortstop. And on the mound for the Dodgers will be John Tudor, who came over in the Pedro Guerrero deal with the Cardinals in August. Let's get the inside pitch on Dwight Gooden from Philadelphia Phillies third baseman Mike Schmidt.
Doc Gooden, there are no secrets about Doc. He throws 95 miles an hour throughout the whole ball game, from the first inning to the last. He's got a great curveball. It's important that he gets it over early in the count, because in pressure situations now, hitters can hit fastballs no matter how hard they are. I like for him to be able to get that curveball over when he's behind in the count to hitters like Gibson and Marshall. That's going to be a big key. Also, he's not good at holding runners on base. The Dodgers will be able to run on him at will. This could be important if it's a close ball game. Doc's a fair fielder and a pretty good hitter.
And Mike Schmidt talking about Dwight Gooden, who pitched Game 1 in the National League Championship Series Tuesday in L.A. McReynolds, Wilson, and Strawberry in the outfield for the Mets. Jeffrey's okay after taking the pitch off his toe yesterday as a third. Kevin Elster is the shortstop. Tim Tuffle at second and Keith Hernandez at first. Gary Carter back of the plate and Dwight Gooden on the mound. And the Mets changing their lineup, changing their infield around in particular because of the left-handed starter, John Tudor. Steve Sachs will lead things off for the Dodgers, and when Sachs led off in Game 1 on Tuesday against Gooden, he singled, promptly stole second, and came in to score the first run of the championship series on a base hit by Marshall. Here we go from New York. The first pitch is taken high for a ball. 1-0 the count. Sachs, Hatcher, and Gibson in the first. Sid Fernandez will get the start tomorrow in Game 5 for the Mets as Sachs fouls it off in the count 1-1.
And Doc Gooden's own assessment of his pitching performance in Dodger Stadium last week on the line score, basically 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, only 1 walk, 2 runs, and 10 strikeouts. He said he has not really felt he has thrown that well since 1985, and that year he was 24-4. But you're right, Al. If they get it, the key is to keep Sachs, Gibson, and Shelby off the base, because they're going to run it well.
High ball 2-1.
Consider the fact that Gooden only had double-figure strikeouts this year in 1 game, and the first and only game he pitches in the playoffs, he gets 10 strikeouts.
Little squibber hit up the line, fielded by Jeffries, and he has no play as he bobbles the ball. It would have been very tough even had he fielded it cleanly. And Sachs is aboard with an infield single.
The ball appeared to hit something.
Number 9.
Again, he's a very tough angle because you're playing off the line, so you not only have to come in, but you have to go to your right. Now watch this ball kind of hit right there and came up a little bit. I don't think he could have made the play anyway. Sachs runs exceptionally well.
Baseball's a funny game, isn't it, Jim? You're rewarded when you hit the ball well, and you're rewarded when you hit the ball poorly. Those in-betweens you got to eliminate.
And Sachs has had 1 reward in each game. He has 1 hit in each of the 4 games to this point.
Over the course of a season or a game, boy, that when you can get him to hit it like that, you got a good chance of winning.
You got that right.
Well, Lasorda before the game lamenting not only the Howell suspension, but he was saying, how about those Mets hits yesterday to beat us? First pitch inside, ball 1. He wasn't particularly talking about Backman's double and Wilson's single, but what led to that.
How about, on the other hand, how about the way the Dodgers scored their runs? 2 infield groundouts, a walk, and an error.
Well, that's a regular lament of a losing manager.
Right.
I think what you said best yesterday was that a lot of times the game takes on the character of the playing conditions.
Yesterday's was certainly no exception to that theory.
Well, Ron Darling said we shouldn't even have played. Too cold, too rainy, too wet.
1 ball, no strikes the count on Mickey Hatcher. Sacks at first base. He stole 42 bases during the regular season. And again, Gooden and Carter have had their problems.
56 out of 67. They've only thrown out 11 out of 67 attempted steals.
1-0 is inside, backing him off. In that first game on Tuesday, Sacks went on a 2-1 pitch. Right now it's 2-0.
Well, he used the slide step, which is a trick that a lot of pitchers are using. Runners are running more now, and if you take that big high leg kick, it takes you too long to get the ball to home plate. So what he did was cut down on the leg kick. But then again, when it's 1-0 and you don't do it a lot, you sometimes throw a ball, and that's exactly what he did.
He goes, good jump. Hatcher takes all the way. The throw is there, but too late. And Sacks steals that one on Gooden. Got a great jump on him, and Carter had very little chance. And Sacks now has 3 stolen bases in the playoffs.
And not only does he steal second, but look at Carter come up. There's no possible way that you're going to get a strike. Hatcher fakes a bunt. Pretty good throw, but the jump beats him. Doesn't matter how good a throw you make. If you let a guy get a running lead, and you can see him at a great angle, Sacks' foot just getting there ahead of time.
My point about being too concerned about the runner. Here it is, 3-0 to Hatcher, using that slide step, that revised kick of his.
And Hatcher takes inside, ball 4. So Mickey is on. The Dodgers have an immediate threat with runners at first and second, and Davey Johnson will now watch Kirk Gibson come up for the Dodgers. And Gibson's been struggling at 1-for-11. He came in with a real sore hamstring and missed a lot of time in September, but he's already stolen a base in the series and made the defensive play of the series as well.
And that tendon is right behind his left leg, so that's the one he pushes off on. So, of course, he's never going to tell you that it's bothering him. He said, I'm showing up, I'm going to play. And if you look at Gooden's past history, his worst innings are usually the first and third as far as the most amount of runs given up. When he gets in a row, gets in a rhythm, he's much tougher. Usually throwing as hard in the ninth as he does in the first.
Breaking ball, missing, ball 1. Where did that miss?
Well, it was high, but you talk about that pine tar. Now, Tommy Lasorda says it doesn't affect or alter the way the ball moves. It gives you tighter spin on your curveball, which makes your curveballs break a little bit more.
Slider too.
And what if Gooden used it tonight and Tudor didn't? There'd be a clear advantage.
A little chopper to the right side. The runners will advance as Tuffle throws Gibson out. And down to third goes Sacks. Advancing to second is Mickey Hatcher. The Dodgers have runners at second and third. And Mike Marshall coming up. Marshall held hitless yesterday, but had 4 hits in the first 2 games in this series. He hit .277 during the regular season, and he led the Dodgers in RBI. So they have their big RBI man up there now. He had 82 during the regular season with runners at second and third. And the Mets infield will play back, so they'll give up a run on a grounder.
This is really, believe it or not, Marshall with having a good postseason series, 4 for 12, is the type of guy you want up because you can strike him out. He's a strikeout hitter. Now, that's not to say he's going to strike out, but constantly, in fact, this year, 97 strikeouts. I think the first time in the last 5 years he has not struck out over 100 times. So he can hurt you, but he can also help you if you're a pitcher.
0-2.
Timmy, you've seen Dwight Gooden a lot more than I. Gooden can put a little bit of extra on his fastball when he needs it.
That's what he's done the last 2 pitches. All the great pitches are like that. You get a runner at third base, less than 2 outs, there's no assurity they're going to score.
What is this, Minnesota? Here's the 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging. The Homer Hankies have come east.
Well, actually, Al, you know what they are?
Strikeout Hankies.
Daily News strikeout Hankies.
Hankies, huh?
David Cohn autographed models or what?
Bad ball, the fastball. 3 straight fastballs to Marshall, gets him.
And now Shelby comes up, the switch hitting center fielder. Shelby 1 for 10 in the series. Dodgers threatened, 2 out in the first inning, and it's fouled away, and the count is 0-1.
Well, John has 2 distinctions. The longest hitting streak in the major leagues, 24 games. Also led the major leagues in strikeouts per at bat. Struck out 4.3 times per 100.
Sacks at third, Hatcher at second, and Shelby hits a soft looper into right field for a base hit. Sachs comes in to score, so does Hatcher. And now it's Davey Johnson's turn to lament the blue pit. A looping single into right field, and the Dodgers break out on top 2-0.
Number 14, the catcher, Mike
Sandwiched that very important walk to Mickey Hatcher. I mean, technically, Gooden could have been out of the inning if he gets Hatcher out. But John Shelby doing a remarkable job here of picking up Mike Marshall. With the psychology behind the 2-out hit, it's very, very important. They didn't get the cheap run, but they got 2 very important key runs on the single.
Mike Scioscia now. Shelby can run. He stole 16 bases, was caught 5 times during the regular season. Joey Amalfitano sending down the signs.
To carry your point farther, and you mentioned it in games past, nobody picks you up when there's 2 outs. I mean, you have to do it. You make an out, the inning ends. So it's a truly clutch hit.
Pitch out, nothing doing.
Shelby with 16 steals, so if the wrong guys get on, it's going to be a very difficult night for Gooden to pitch well. And I think one of the reasons we've seen his ERA go up on a yearly basis is guys are taking advantage of his inability to hold runners on. The high leg kick.
Dodgers break out on top for the 4th straight game, and there's a balk. Gooden is called for a balk, and so Shelby goes to second before the pitch. Count remains 1-0, and Harry Wendelstedt umpiring at third tonight, putting his arms up.
He balked 5 times during the regular season, and you have seen the Dodgers really take the psychological game right to Dwight Gooden and the Mets. The psychology of the stolen base, in my opinion, more important than the stolen base itself.
1-1. Here's the balk.
Now he has to have a discernible stop. Ha! Oh, you know, it's really hard, and you can go out and argue that call, but I think what umpires are calling this year, if you bounce, in other words, if you come up and you come down and go right back up, that's what they're calling. If you pause like you did there, it's not a balk.
In the dirt, and moving to third is Shelby, and he's in there. It's off the glove of Jeffries, but not far enough. Amalfitano right there to tell Shelby to stay put. As the ball trickled off the glove of Jeffries, but in the neighborhood, and Shelby remains at third.
I mean, think of the psychology of trying to beat Doc Gooden. You know he's got a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Take another look at this curveball in the dirt. Carter does what he's supposed to. He gets in front of it, but the ball just kicks out too far. And again, if you're a good base runner and Shelby has great speed, you have to take advantage of it. Because what it does, it takes the curveball away from Gooden. Maybe he doesn't take it away from him, but as a pitcher, it makes you throw it a little bit less forcefully.
Next pitch missing, ball 3. Scored a wild pitch. So Shelby with a single to second on a balk, to third on a wild pitch. 2 out, first inning. Dodgers on top 2-0. Squibbed foul, and the count 3-2. Curve. Shea crowd, as is customary with 2 strikes, and particularly customary with Dwight Gooden, looking for the strikeout. And they get it on a curve, but the Dodgers get 2 in the first, and after a half, it's the Dodgers 2 and the Mets coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention.
Wilson starts in center. And Greg Jeffries, shaking off the effects of being hit on the foot by a pitch yesterday, hit second. Keith Hernandez bats third. Darryl Strawberry, per usual, is the cleanup hitter. Kevin McReynolds, 0 for 11 in this series, batting fifth. Gary Carter moves up to sixth, and Tim Tuffle is the second baseman tonight against Tudor, with Kevin Elster taking over at shortstop for Howard Johnson, and Dwight Gooden on the mound. So John Tudor, with the Cardinals in the 85 series and the 87 series, makes another postseason appearance tonight in a Dodger uniform. The inside pitch on Tudor from Mike Schmidt.
John Tudor's success is created by his great changeup. He probably has the best changeup of any pitcher in the National League. It's because he has such great arm speed on his changeup. It looks like a fastball coming out of his hand. In fact, he gives you a lot of body, and he'll even stick his tongue out when he lets it go. It's a great changeup and a very tough pitch to hit. Let's not forget that he can throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in and out to the right and left-handed hitters. He'll throw an occasional breaking ball to right-handed hitters, not very often. He'll use his breaking ball mostly to left-handed hitters. John is a good hitter, a good fielder, and very deceptive at holding runners on.
Well, maybe we'll isolate on his tongue at some point tonight.
I've heard of speaking in tongues, but never throwing in tongues.
Right. Here's Mookie Wilson leading off on the pitch outside. Well, the thing that we're going to have to watch with Tudor is his hip, his right hip. A spasm forced his removal a week ago Friday in his last regular season start against the Giants. He came out of the game in the second inning. He was originally scheduled to pitch game 2 in LA on Wednesday, and they had to scratch him and move him back. And then when Friday's game was rained out and Lasorda opted to bring Hershiser back yesterday, it gave Tudor 2 more days rest, so he's working, Jim, for the first time in 9 days.
Yes, and he's also working with not throwing before the start. So, and control is his, I mean, it's his game. You can look at Scioscia and you can tell what kind of day he's going to have. When he moves in, if the ball's not there and he gets too many balls in the middle of the plate. Now, the key to John Tudor, of course, is his front leg. That's the one he hurt. That's his right leg. Just as yesterday in the rain delay or the rain type of ball game, that's the foot you land on. That's the foot that you really come through on, and that's the foot that you really have your control with.
Breaking ball, a looper to Sachs as Wilson had to reach for it, and you'll see a lot of outs like that against John Tudor.
It's a very interesting point you made, and I've never heard that. Your right foot, the foot on which you land, is your control foot.
Oh, in a lot of cases.
That's very interesting.
Well, mainly if it's, you know, if you're in a rain type situation like yesterday, you saw guys looking at the mound, and now obviously in a rain delay, pushing off the mound is very important. That's not a factor you have to deal with tonight when it's dry.
Now Greg Jeffries takes a strike and the count 0-1, and Dutch Rennert is the plate umpire tonight, and you can hear him in Montauk. Fouled away and the count 0-2. So Dutch, the vocal one, back of the plate. Bob Davidson at first, Paul Runge at second, Harry Wendelstedt, who is the crew chief, at third, John McSherry down the line in left, and Joe West in right. 0-2 on Jeffries. And it's high for a ball.
A lot of right-handed hitters go up there and think that Tudor's going to stay away, but he'll jam right-handers with the best of them. He rarely gets over 82, 83 miles an hour.
Change, foul back, 1-2.
That's an interesting point because, well, Mike Schmidt said his fastball was 90 miles per hour. He said he's lost 6 miles per hour since he had the arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder and the broken bone in his knee last year.
Hit down the line and right, and that's foul, and the count remains 1-2.
I think when you look at Tudor and you look at the weather yesterday when he would have pitched, and that rain out Friday night really does help the Dodgers. This is, I mean, this is like middle of summer compared to yesterday.
Breaking ball hit in the air to right center field, but Marshall got a good jump on it and flags it down in the alley. So 2 down in the first inning, and it will bring up Keith Hernandez. One reason the Dodgers went out and got John Tudor was the injury to Fernando Valenzuela. Valenzuela, because of the shoulder problems, went on the disabled list. They figured he would not be available for postseason duty. They needed a left-hander, and Guerrero had his situation exacerbated, I think, or at least moved along rapidly, more rapidly, by virtue of the fact his contract would have expired at the end of the season. And so the Dodgers felt they were able to move Guerrero, who was their cleanup hitter, and the Moody Slugger was sent to St. Louis for John Tudor.
Also, they were winning without him. I mean, that's a major point. He was out for about 6 weeks with a stiff neck, and they played just as well as if he was there.
They were 1 game under 500, 29-30 with Guerrero in the lineup.
1-1 to count.
Pedro has had some fabulous offensive years, but he would probably be better in the American League where you could hide him, because he's not an outstanding defensive player. Probably better at first than anywhere else, and that's where they're going to play him in St. Louis.
Good curve, 1-2.
Here's the curveball that you'll only see to left-handed batters. You will rarely, if ever, see a curveball thrown by Tudor to a right-hander. So he's got another weapon in his arsenal against lefties.
He said he's thrown 1 to a right-handed hitter this year.
Is that right?
1.
Wow.
Fastball, 2-2.
I mean, that's a great pitch because, number one, it's deceptive because he drops down a little bit. The ball starts at you, so you give a little bit at the plate. But the home run that Hernandez hit earlier in the year off Tudor was on that pitch. It's not a very good pitch, just like we talked about David Cohn, if you don't get the ball away from the left-handed hitter.
Curve missing inside, ball 3, 3-2.
And that's the one thing I've always been amazed about, is how he can sometimes face a left-hander, maybe the third hitter, and go 3 or 4 hitters. And you look at Tommy Lasorda and still have command of that pitch. Doesn't throw it that much with a predominantly right-handed hitting lineup.
With 2 out, the 3-2 pitch is grounded to the right side. Steve Sachs over to Hatcher. Mets gone in order at the end of 1 in Game 4. Dodgers 2, Mets nothing. Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. Dodgers on top 2-0. Tomorrow we're back at noon Eastern time, and that's 9 in the morning on the coast.
Leading off number 33.
And then Tuesday, if there is a 6th game at 8 Eastern time, 5 Pacific from Dodger Stadium, a 7th game would be played Wednesday. Jeff Hamilton to lead off for the Dodgers. Hamilton, Griffin, and Tudor in the 2nd inning. Hamilton hit .236 during the regular season. Hamilton benefited from the absence of Guerrero, even though by the time Jeff took over, Pedro had moved to first base anyway. And there it is, the Dodgers in the 1988 Championship Series have led after 22 innings, but are down 2 games to 1. Wilson in center with an easy play into the chorus of Mookie. Mookie makes the catch. Hamilton gone, 1 away in the 2nd inning, and Alfredo Griffin comes to the plate, and Griffin hopeful of facing his ex-mates in the World Series
now
Saturday.
Number 7, the shortstop, Alfredo
Dennis
Griffin.
Eckersley named the MVP of the American League Championship Series after Jose Canseco had 3 home runs. He had 3 hits today. The 2 games in Boston were both 1-run games. Canseco tied one with a 2-run homer, and he put him ahead with the other 2 home runs.
Griffin's bunt is too hard, and Gooden throws him out, so 2 down. And it will bring up John Tudor. Well, one luxury that La Russa has right now is he can set up his rotation for the World Series exactly the way he wants it.
Of course, I played in my first 3 playoffs. We won 9 straight games. So we had that problem or dilemma, if you want to call it that. Inter-squad games, you get yourself ready, and you can pitch anybody you want. These teams, on the other hand, will pretty much have to depend on how many games are played.
John Tudor. 0-1. Tudor with a career average of 155. Without a hit as a Dodger this year, but overall hit 085, counting his Cardinal figures. And look at that. In magic marker. Well, Howell is still alive, but that's to honor Jay Howell, who was suspended for 3 days. And the count 1-2. And we detailed that on the pregame show, and I'm sure you've heard about it, but there it is. Magic markered in on the sleeve of John Tudor. fouled away.
I mean, Gooden is one of the few pitchers that has as good a fastball as he does a curveball. And probably something would make that curveball a little bit better would be pine tar. So to say it doesn't give you an advantage. Not at all. I mean, it does.
Sure that J.H. and John Hausman because they're earning it tonight?
Didn't think of that. 2-2, got him swinging. Gooden sets the Dodgers down in order at the end of an inning and a half. 2-0 Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Leading off for the match.
John Tudor, often pictured as dour, reticent, and reclusive by the media. I asked him how he'd like to be perceived.
Well, the best way someone could think about me would a guy that would go out there and, you know, no holes bound, just whatever it takes to win is what I'll do. You know, if it means I have to go out there and play hurt, then I'll do that. Whatever it takes to win a ball game. If it means that I decide to play a couple more years and I have to start cutting the ball, I'll do that too. I don't necessarily respect the pitchers that are doing it now because some of them have the ability and they don't need to do it. But I'll do whatever it takes to win.
Well, very revealing there, and also we want to place that in its proper context, especially in light of the Howell suspension. He said that before the first game of the playoffs. Strawberry hit a grounder to the right side, and Hatcher throws back to Tudor, and it's off his glove, and Strawberry is safe at first. So Hatcher makes a nice play to get to the ball, but Strawberry legs it safely to first, and the Mets have the leadoff man on in the second inning.
You're right, Al. It was a nice play, but it was the wrong play. Hatcher had a similar dilemma yesterday when Hatcher went off the bag to field the ball, and the Mets tied the game in the sixth inning. Steve Sachs has an easy play, and the pitcher could become a first baseman. If a pitcher's there in time, you're a first baseman, you stretch off, and it would have been a much easier play for Steve Sachs.
Well, that's the difficult thing about it. Hatcher, not a regular first baseman, doesn't really know that Sachs is going to be there. It happened yesterday, it happened today. And you make an easy play a difficult one, and that's why Strawberry's down at first.
And again, that's what we talked about yesterday in regard to the right side of the infield for the Dodgers. First base defense. It's been a problem for them. Stubbs is their best defensive first baseman, but made 9 errors in the last 23 games down the stretch. And Hatcher, one of the stunt men, an extra man, moved around, but gets the start at first base in this series.
Not to mention the shortstop situation with Dave Anderson on the DL. Sharpison has to play shortstop. Did yesterday, didn't have any bearing on the game though.
Hatcher gets an error on the play, and McReynolds pops it up, and he's going to be 0 for 12 as Sachs is there to make the catch. So 1 out with Strawberry aboard on the error at first base. Gary Carter coming up, and just to again talk about the Tudor interview, because John, as you saw, actually said he would cut the ball if he had to. We did the interview before the first game of the playoffs, and it's not as if we're bringing it back having done it today in light of the Jay Howell suspension.
There are a lot of pitchers who feel exactly like John Tudor. They just don't say it on national television.
Exactly. Carter hits one into left field for a base hit. The Mets' first hit. Strawberry will stop at second. And so the Mets have 2 on with 1 out, and Tim Tuffle coming up.
It's interesting how yesterday's game can sometimes formulate how you play a guy. Carter went to right field yesterday. Griffin normally would be playing him to pull. He's playing him a little bit more up the middle. Therefore, adjustment yesterday affects today, and the base hit goes into left field.
Changes somewhat because he was cheating closer to second base, but nonetheless, on a play like that with a pull hitter up there, usually you have Sachs cheating towards second.
Don't say cheat.
Bad choice of words.
Yeah,
epidemic
today. Tuffle, who hit .234 during the regular season. When the year began, Tuffle was going to be the Mets' regular second baseman after they platooned the past couple of seasons with Backman and Tuffle. But he wound up, as it turned out, playing himself out of a regular job. He was hurt, and as the season ended, he was back in a platoon role. Shallow center and easy for Shelby, and the runners will hold 2 guys. Strawberry remains at second, and Carter is still at first, and with 2 down now, Kevin Elster comes up. Tuffle barking to himself as he goes back into the dugout.
Number 21, the shortstop, Kevin Elster.
Kevin Elster. Elster getting the start tonight. The Mets against the Dodger right-handers have been going with Jeffries at third on an everyday basis, Howard Johnson at short, and Wally Backman at second. But against the lefty Tudor, they've got Tuffle in the lineup tonight, and also the rookie Kevin Elster. So 2 on and 2 out as Tudor bluffs going back to second. High for a ball, 1-0 the count.
Even though Elster is a rookie, he did see action 2 years ago in the National League Championship Series and the World Series. You rarely see a rookie playing 2 years later after service in postseason play.
And you rarely see a rookie in postseason play on a regular basis like Greg Jeffries, who will be a rookie the following year. Keep in mind, he didn't have enough at-bats this year to not qualify as a rookie next season, so he could win the Rookie of the Year award.
Interestingly, Steve Sachs played in the 1981 National League Championship Series and the World Series and was Rookie of the Year in '82.
And going back to '85, Todd Worrell, who was such a major force for the Cardinals and was their key man out of the bullpen in the playoffs in the World Series, wasn't a rookie until the following season, even though he put his name in the World Series record book with 6 consecutive strikeouts. 1-1 on Kevin Elster, and the count 1-2. When we go to the top of the third, as you look at Davey Johnson, we're going to talk with Dodger General Manager Fred Clare about the suspension of Jay Howell for 3 days. So we will follow up on that story in the third. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. And the pitch to Elster is lifted to left field. Gibson got a late start, but has time to get there and make the catch. No runs, a hit. They leave 2 after 2. Dodgers 2, Mets nothing. Well, as we go to the third inning, Fred Clare, the Executive Vice President, Player Personnel for the Dodgers. Fred, we have detailed the Jay Howell situation. We also have a statement from the Dodgers saying that your organization has no quarrel with the decision. My question is will Howell, through the Players Association, file an appeal on the suspension?
Now, I can't really answer that question. I believe that option is there for him, but whether Jay will file an appeal or make a request for a hearing of some type, I really can't answer that, but certainly the option is there for him.
Will the Dodgers suggest an appeal?
No, I would leave that to Jay. I think the penalty that was issued was certainly a severe penalty, but I would leave that to Jay and let him have the freedom of his choice.
Steve Sachs leading off here in the third. Am I correct in assuming that there's no avenue of appeal from the club, but only through the Players Association on behalf of the player?
That is my understanding of it.
So in other words, am I also clear in understanding, and I know it's a very complicated basic agreement, if Howell files an appeal, the suspension would then be held in abeyance and he'd be able to play in the remainder of this playoff series?
Well, it would be held in abeyance until such time as a hearing was held to address the appeal. I can only assume that if he would file an appeal, that there would be a hearing that would be scheduled immediately to address a very immediate situation.
3-1 the count. That's the reason Bart Giamatti did not want to appear. And there is the National League president in his box outside the Mets dugout, because he talked about the possibility of an appeal. So this is a story that is ongoing. Where is Howell right now as Sachs draws the walk?
Al, he was to work out today with the ball club before the game, which of course he has the right to do. I think Jay's plan was then to go back to the hotel after he had worked out.
What do you expect to happen tomorrow here, Fred?
I really can't answer that. As I say, if Jay decides to take any action, the option would be there for him, but as trying to speculate as to what will happen, I really can't judge that.
Mickey Hatcher at the plate, takes inside.
In the context, Fred, of this suspension, a 10-day suspension to a starting pitcher during a season is only really maybe 2 starts. A reliever, and the percentage, obviously, he's going to be missed 4 games, missed yesterday and the next 3 games, is a lot more severe. Don't you think he should appeal it?
Well, there's no question, Jim, as far as the severity of it, because for a relief pitcher, and particularly in the situation that we are in, it is a very severe one. But I really want to leave it to Jay to take the actions that he feels are the right actions for him and the thing that he is most comfortable with. I think that's the thing that's most important. I met with Jay earlier today, and that's the thing that I told him. Do the thing that you're comfortable with.
2 balls, no strikes the count. Meanwhile, Mel Stottlemyre will make a visit to the mound with a count 2-0 on Hatcher and Sachs at first base.
You know, when the suspension was handed out, the 3 days with the maximum of 7-game playoff is actually more on a percentage basis than Pete Rose's 30-day suspension for running into Dave Pallone. Do you consider that the unfair part of it?
Well,
Fred?
Tim, I think the other thing is that we have a rule as relates to a foreign substance, and I think that there's also, as acknowledged by the players, a certain practice. The one thing that I would hate to see would be that Jay Howe be put into a classification of doctoring, of cutting the baseball. I do not feel that that's fair to Jay Howe. So I think that's really an important point that needs to be made, and the people in the game, I think, understand that. I think there's an issue there that we have to address as related to a rule and a practice and come to grips with what I see to be a problem. But personally, I commend Jay for the way that he handled the situation yesterday. He did not run from the situation. He did not run from the media and faced up to what had happened. And I thought that he handled that very well.
Did Giamatti reach this decision unilaterally as far as you know, Fred, or did he consult at all with you or any member of the Dodgers?
I had not talked to Bart Giamatti prior to the time that he called me, which was slightly before 2 o'clock today.
And what was your initial reaction?
I was surprised that it was as severe as it was. I was hopeful that it would have been less of a consequence for our ball club, but by the same token, I know that Bart gives a lot of thought to what he does. I'm certain that he did talk to a lot of people. I know that it was not an easy decision. Those decisions are never easy decisions. And I really did react to Bart, but I thought that it was certainly very severe.
Just to follow up on one other point, if Howell, through the Players Association, does file an appeal tomorrow, as Hatcher breaks his bat and hits it softly into left field into the glove of McReynolds, and Sachs goes back to first base. If he does file that appeal, Fred, he then would be eligible to pitch tomorrow.
That is correct, or at least that is my understanding of it.
Okay. Fred, thank you very much.
Okay,
appreciate it very much. Fred Clare of the Dodgers discussing the Jay Howell suspension. And so, again, it's a story whose finish has not been written. Kirk Gibson comes to the plate. There's also a little side issue here in regard to this suspension as you look at what Gibson has done, and that's a very impressive set of numbers right there.
The other player, by the way, Darryl Strawberry.
Gibson with 1 out takes high. Did you notice that the suspension was for 3 days, and that's an important distinction. It wasn't for 3 games. What if it rained tomorrow? I asked the National League president about that, and he said it's 3 days. If it were to rain tomorrow, it would mean that Howell would be available in a 6th game if it went that far, as well as a 7th. Because in his decision, Dr. Giamatti said, I don't want to see a championship ultimately decided for fans and teammates if the playoffs go 7 games by the accident of one man's mistake. Therefore, Mr. Howell would be eligible to pitch should there be a 7th game. Gibson strokes it foul. And the count 1-1.
Of course, that comment is somewhat of a contradiction. He's going to miss 4 games, and I think he's going to have a major part in deciding this playoff.
You're including yesterday's game,
yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the umpires did what they're supposed to. The rule book says if you have on your person or in your possession anything that's a foreign substance, you get ejected. They did their job.
Seemed to me from Fred Claire's answers that he was going to suggest to the rules committee this winter to change that particular rule.
Sachs goes. The pitch is a strike. The throw to second. Too late, and so Sachs has another steal. He singled, stole second in the first inning, and came in to score. And for Steve, 2 steals tonight and 4 in the playoffs.
The first time he stole, Gary Carter had a shot, but not on this one. Sachs steals second easily.
I think it goes back to what Mel Stottlemyre said when he came out. He said, because he tried one of those slide steps, got behind the hitters again, he said, don't worry about the runner. Even though he's very important, you got to get the hitter out. And again, Gooden has the type of stuff, you don't want him to steal second, but that's a lot better that have that happen to walk hitters and get behind him.
Like he did Hatcher in the first inning.
Sachs is going to third, and Gibson hammers it foul, and Steve had a good jump that time as well.
And that's the one variable that Doc really needs to work on, and that is he's got to get a little bit quicker to home plate. I mean, again, it's that magic number.
4 steals, and he's 1 shy, as you saw, of Davey Lopes' record. Sachs succeeding Lopes as the Dodgers' second baseman a few years back.
Davey Lopes, one of the outstanding base runners. I mean, not only in numbers in terms of stolen bases, but in percentage. And of course, that's a key. When you look at Strawberry, 29 and 14, he's thrown out way more than the league average.
1 out, 3rd inning. Dodgers lead 2-0. Sachs at second. And the 1-2 pitch to Gibson. He checks his swing, and it's high, ball 2.
Gibson, one of only 2 Dodgers to hit home runs against the Mets this year. He did it off Doc Gooden here at Shea Stadium on a curveball.
And no doubt that curveball came down and in, which is where he likes the ball. Good low ball hitter. Throw that curveball away. Hitter can't wait. Get it in. It's right where he's going.
3-2. Gibson began this series clean shaven. He's 1 for 12 now, so he has affected the old police lineup look.
Of course, normally he says that he only shaves on getaway days when they travel. But after that tough loss, he went right to the razor blade.
Dodger Bluebeard.
Sachs at second. The 3-2 pitch coming to Gibson. Sachs on his way to third. The pitch is a strike. The throw is not in time. So Gibson strikes out, but Sachs steals third. And for Steve, 3 tonight and 5 in the championship series to tie Lopes' LCS record.
Look at Carter come up on this pitch. Stays down as long as he can, but you can't stay too long or you'll have the runner steals.
That's
right. Makes an excellent throw. Once again, I'll tell you what, I admire Carter's patience. I mean, all year long, he's only thrown out 21% of runners, which is about 9% lower than the rest of the league. He gets a little bit upset because he knows he made a perfect throw, but most of the time, he just says, heck, I make a good throw. I didn't throw it away. They don't hold him on. I have no choice.
Marshall grounds it foul, and the count is 0-1.
You make an interesting point about the curveball because a catcher comes out from behind the plate much differently with 2 strikes on the hitter. You've got to stay back. If the ball's a strike, you want the strike. You don't want the runner. Your first priority is to get the strike and then throw the ball, and that's what Gary did. And that's why he got the strike, too. He had to wait back.
Tries to check his swing and fouls it at the plate, and it's 0-2 on Mike Marshall.
Well, if you go back and right before, look where Judge Renner, the umpire, is. So if you come up, it's rather obvious you're going to block him. And here, this is just a fastball where they like the pitch. Marshall is in and off the plate and try to get him to chase that pitch. Or curveball down and away.
Half swing, got him. So Marshall strikes out for the second time. Dodgers strand sacks at third. 2-0 LA in the middle of the third. Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver at Shea Stadium in New York. Game 4. The Goodyear blimp looking down upon Shea Stadium. And at the end of 2.5, the Dodgers lead it by a score of 2-0 back of John Tudor. Don't forget, back here tomorrow, noon Eastern. And for those of you on the West Coast, breakfast at Shea, I suppose. 9 o'clock in the morning as Gooden takes outside ball 1. 1-0. American League over. If you missed it today, the A's won it, swept the Red Sox. 5 days off, and they begin the World Series Saturday as Gooden strokes a single into left field. Dwight Gooden, the pitcher, leading off with a single in the third, and now the top of the order, Mookie Wilson.
Now batting, the center
Gooden, not only a good hitter, but he hits John Tudor well. He is now 5 for 10 lifetime against Tudor.
You know, it's an interesting thing about hitting Tudor. I mean, everybody says his changeup is his greatest pitch, but most likely you'll get a fastball to hit, and I'm sure that's a pitcher's mentality. It certainly was with me. I mean, with Louis Tiant, why look for all that junk? Because I knew it couldn't hit it. I'm sure Dwight goes up there looking for a fastball. He got one, and he hit it hard.
Don't look for a pitch you can't hit.
But most hitters do.
There are a lot of young hitters that do. That's true.
Wilson 0 for 1 tonight. 2 for 10 in the series. Gooden off to his lead at first, and Hatcher is playing off the bag behind him. And Wilson hits a chopper to Hamilton. He goes to Sachs. Steve juggles, and that's all. It costs him any chance for a double play. But he's able to hold on to the ball and get the force 5-4. 1 gone.
Now batting.
It's going to be an easy double play to turn because Dwight Gooden kind of made a peeling off. Now watch Dwight go to his right. He doesn't want, I want to pitch the rest of the game.
Steve looked at first before he looked in his glove, didn't he?
But Dwight had no ideas of impeding him at all.
So a 5-4 force for the first out in the third inning. And now Jeffries, who fly to right in the first. Greg 5 for 11 in the series. And he looks at a strike, and the count is 0-1. Interesting right there. 5 hits in the series ties the championship series record for a rookie. And as we mentioned before, he'll still be a rookie next year. He can tie it twice as a rookie.
Mets have already been made the favorites by the odds maker for next year.
They have?
Yeah, they haven't even beaten the Dodgers yet. I tell you, Jeffries can hit. He stayed with that changeup last time, hit that fly ball, went right with it, waits well. Now, Tudor's got an excellent move, picked off 10 guys this year.
That's as many as the Mets pitching staff.
10 successive steals, 10 caught stealing. So, of course, some of those were pickoffs, but when you throw out 50% of the runners that attempt to steal, and of course you do have a big advantage as a left-hander. The key to a left-handed pitcher is when his left leg comes up, is actually his right leg comes up, it can't go past the pitcher's rubber. If it does, he has to come home. Now the way Tudor does it, and I'm sure we could get a shot from the right field camera, it goes right even with the rubber, so he can go home or he can go to first base. Very tricky. Base runner really cannot commit himself.
That's close right there.
Yeah,
that's
now if his
borderline.
leg comes behind or an imaginary line. Now when this right leg comes up, now if he goes behind the pitcher's rubber, he has to go home. But what he does is he comes up even with it, so he has 2 options. Very tough to run on. You have to gamble. You have to either say he's going to go home and I'm going to run.
Oh, and he gets him. He got him right there.
Wrong gamble.
That's right. Well, you know, he didn't even gamble. He just leaned. And when you lean, number one, with 1 out, I can't be thinking of stealing a base off John Tudor. Right here now, he looks to home but comes to first. And Mookie gets tricked. Number 11 on the year.
So 2 down, and quiets the crowd, and the pitcher's outside. 1-1 on Jeffrey.
And it's really bad base running because you got a guy that was only up about a month. He had 6 home runs, 4 from the right side, and you just got yourself picked off. And that's not checking the stats. I mean, in the old days, you know, when I was pitching, I'd take a stat sheet, and I could look at the stat sheet, and I could tell you who I was going to try to keep close, because all you have to do is look at the stolen base attempts. The scouting report will tell you that Tudor has an excellent mood. Not as good as Ricky Horton, but the best in the league this year.
Up high, ball 3, 3-1. Hooking foul. 3-2. The only thing that really surprises me about a guy like Wilson getting picked off, if it's somebody who hasn't seen Tudor that much, you would say, okay, I can understand, but Mookie's been in the league several years, and so has John.
Well, what explains it is how good his move is. I mean, he was just fooled, and that will happen.
He reaches out, backhanded by Tudor. John throws him out, and the Mets are gone in the 3rd. On to the 4th we go in Game 4. Dodgers 2, Mets nothing. In the 4th inning, the Dodgers on top 2-0, scoring twice in the 1st, and John Shelby delivered both runs with a single. A looping single to right, and he starts the 4th inning by fouling one off to the left, and the count is 0-1. He'll be followed by Scioscia and Hamilton. Dwight Gooden working in the 4th, missing away, and the count 1-1.
There could ever be a case made for that a lot of times when you pitch, you're not the captain of your own fate. Is good performance in playoff games. I mean, he's 0-3. He got beat 1-0 going 7 innings. Then he had a 1-1 no decision in 10 innings. The other night he gave up 2 runs. In fact, he's given up more runs tonight, or as many runs as any playoff game, yet he's 0-3. And the most he's ever given up is 2.
His opponents in 1986, Mike Scott and Nolan Ryan. This year, Orel Hershiser and John Tudor. When you're number 1, you face the number 1s.
Base hit into left field, so Shelby is 2 for 2, leading off the 4th with a single. Yeah, Gooden, interestingly, has the best regular season winning percentage in the history of baseball for pitchers with 100 or more decisions at .722. And as Jim mentioned, 0-3 in postseason, and he's also had bad luck in all-star games. He hasn't pitched that poorly, but he gave up a run in Houston that cost him the '86 game, and this year he gave up Steinbach's home run in Cincinnati, and he was the losing pitcher in the '88 all-star game.
And once again, you get a Dodger with excellent speed. Only stole 16 bases this year, but caught 5 times, so he can pretty much steal a base when he wants to.
And because of that, I don't think you'd opt for the hit and run here. Gooden throws high fastballs. It's tough to put the ball in play on the ground.
Even though his amount of grounders, in fact, you know, he throws almost as many ground balls as Orel Hershiser, and Hershiser is a sinker baller. I mean, it's a difference of maybe 1/10, 1/100 of a ground ball.
But he's still not the type of guy against whom you want to use the hit and run.
No. You don't know where the ball is going to be. I mean, it could be down and away. It could be up over your eyes.
Right.
1-0 pitch is chopped foul off his foot at the plate. 1-1.
And I really think Gooden is going to be a much better pitcher as you look at the boot. I only did this once, Timmy, but it was off Dean Chance, and that hurts.
Fouled it off the other foot, fortunately, for Mike.
Yeah, Mike has the high shoe on the left foot, and then he fouls it off his right foot, so he may be wearing matching shoes tomorrow. He wears that because of an inflammation in the Achilles tendon.
Also
bursa sac on the heel.
A different size shoe when it starts swelling.
Higher.
Shelby at first. John had 16 steals during the regular season. 1-1 the count. Mike Scioscia at the plate, 4th inning. Dodgers on top 2-0 as they try to square the series at 2 games apiece. There he goes. Great jump. Pitches a strike. Carter has no chance. None. Zip.
Straight steal.
And again, it's the time elapsed. I mean, it's almost like a couple of years ago, somebody turned on a light in the closet where it had been dark. They said if you can't get rid of the ball in 1.4 seconds to get it to home plate, and if the catcher doesn't get rid of it under 2 seconds, you can't throw a runner out.
I think Steve Boros, who is now in the Dodgers minor league system as an instructor, I believe that's right, was one of the forerunners and the pioneers in that particular form of timing a catcher's throw from a pitcher.
Scioscia reaches out, loops one to center, but Wilson was playing shallow, and he makes the catch for the out. So Scioscia gone. One away here in the 4th inning with Shelby at second base, and Jeff Hamilton will be coming to the plate.
Third baseman
Shea
Jeff
Stadium
Hamilton.
in New York celebrating its 25th anniversary. The ballpark opened in 1964, so this is the 25th season for the Mets here after beginning their franchise at the Polo Grounds in Manhattan, beginning in 1962 of the Mets. Funny thing about the Mets, they drew their colors blue and orange from the two teams that vacated New York. The Dodgers wearing blue in Brooklyn, and the Giants, before they went to San Francisco, the orange of the New York Giants. So the Mets, in a way, wearing Dodger blue, but don't tell Lasorda. One hopper hit sharply to Tuffle. Tim stays with it, throws him out, and Shelby advances to third. 2 down, and the number 8 hitter Griffin coming up.
See, that's another part of the running game. We talked about the psychology. Tuffle was moving towards second base, trying to hold Shelby close, and that ball turned into an in-between hop, whereas it could have been a short hop had he been stationary and not worrying about Shelby. The running game does a lot of things that you never see in the box score. It's a very intimidating offensive force.
Griffin hits a little squibber to the right side. Tuffle charges and throws him out, and the Dodgers strand Shelby at third. At the end of 3.5, it remains Los Angeles 2, New York nothing.
Gentlemen, leading off for the Mets.
Tom Lasorda hoping his Dodgers can square the series at 2 games apiece. No matter what happens today, back we come tomorrow, noon Eastern time. 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific. The Dodgers and the Mets in Game 5. Sid Fernandez pitches for the Mets, and probably Tim Belcher for the Dodgers. And then if a 6th game is necessary, back to the coast Tuesday, prime time, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
And I would imagine Tim Leary would be going to Game 6, and that's speculation. We don't know for sure. But really, when you think about it, he's the only guy left because Hershiser is going 7 if necessary.
It makes sense, and Cone would pitch for the Mets in the 6th game. Keith Hernandez takes a curve, low, ball 1. If there were a 7th game, Hershiser and Darling would be the matchup.
Yeah, Darling said you should never have played the game yesterday. Hershiser said you had no idea one curveball would break, the other one wouldn't. And here's a guy that just pitched 67 1/3 scoreless innings. Had a pretty good idea that almost all those curveballs were breaking back then.
Breaking pitch for a strike. But Darling wanted more perfect conditions yesterday. That's because he was born in Hawaii. Figures.
Yeah, but he went to Yale, and I mean, I can imagine springtime baseball in Yale just like yesterday.
Probably why he doesn't like it.
And Sid Fernandez hoping for the same kind of Hawaii weather tomorrow,
That's right. Little looper into shallow right center. Sachs does a 360 and can't make the play. A base hit for Hernandez. So a soft single to right. And the Mets had the leadoff man on the bottom of the 4th inning.
Baseball players on the bench have a name for this. They'll yell out, "He hit it like you threw it." A little lazy curveball off the end of the bat, and Sachs can't get to it.
Of course, as a former pitcher, you don't deserve that type of reaction to a good pitch, but that is baseball, and we've seen a lot of flares the last couple days.
Strawberry takes inside, ball 1, 1-0.
Look how the Dodgers scored their 2 runs in the first. Infield hit for Sachs, a walk. Second and third, John Shelby delivers the broken bat base hit, 2-0 Dodgers.
To deep right, and gone.
The sound of the ball off the bat has changed with that swing.
Put a clock on that baby leaving the park.
Sonic boom. Well, that's 21 off the left-hander. The last guy who came close was Reggie Jackson a few years ago.
I'll tell you, I don't know if 21 during a season, 20 actually during the regular season is a record, but consider this. Babe Ruth had 19 off left-handers in 1927, and Roger Maris in 61, 12 off left-handed pitchers.
You want to hear it again? After this pitch, we'll play back the crack of the bat in natural sound. To deep left center field, Gibson going all the way back, and this one's gone. First hit of the series for McReynolds. McReynolds, who hit 27 during the regular season, makes it 3-2 Mets, just like that. Natural sound, Strawberry's home run.
That sound, almost no sound. That's what a home run's all about.
Carter now tries to bunt, and the catch is made by Tudor. So back-to-back shots, and then Carter tries to surprise the Dodgers by bunting his way on. But Tudor is right there, 1 out. Here's the natural sound. Compare it now. Here's McReynolds in natural sound.
Almost no sound.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything.
His bat must be corked.
You don't hear it.
You know, and I say that, and I said that jokingly, but when a guy hits a ball with a bat that's corked, the ball does not make a sound.
No, that's right. Nor do you feel anything.
I think we had a little problem with the sound on that one. There was some sound, trust me.
And it all goes back to John Tudor. Elbow problems, arthroscopic surgery, as you look at a happy Darryl Strawberry. Assume he still gets happy.
Tuffle hits a high drive to left center field, but this will stay in. Gibson backs up, edge of the track, makes the catch. So a long out for the second out, 2 down, and Kevin Elster coming to the plate.
On home runs like the one McReynolds and Strawberry just hit, you hear little, you feel little, but you see a lot.
Now batting, the shortstop, Kevin Elster.
But the velocity, you lose 5 or 6 miles on your fastball, and I don't just mean tonight. He had arthroscopy surgery they didn't tell anybody about on his shoulder. Somehow, I guess, favoring the broken bone in his knee last year. He hurt his elbow along with a shoulder injury. And when you throw 80 miles per hour, you can't, it's not that you can't make mistakes, because he got the ball into Strawberry. It's just that he did not throw it hard enough. Not enough movement, not enough velocity.
2 out, base is empty. And the next pitch gets the corner in the count. 1-1. So the Mets on top 3-2 in the bottom of the fourth inning. Eight times during the regular season, back-to-back home runs for the Mets this year. Time called.
And of course, if you make a good pitch inside and the guy still hits it, what does it tell you? It tells you don't have good velocity. If you throw a changeup, what McReynolds hit, maybe a little bit in the middle of the play at the knees, then you say to yourself, the changeup, the most important thing about a changeup, of course, is the arm speed. But you have to have a difference between your fastball and your changeup, and that's the big difference between Tudor this year and in years past. He doesn't have as much speed on his fastball, so he's changing off of less to change with.
If you had a better arm speed, you'd have a better fastball and a better changeup.
Breaking pitch is popped in the air to shallow right field. In comes Marshall, and the inning is over. But the Mets explode for 3 on the back-to-back homers from Strawberry and McReynolds. To the fifth we go. 3-2 Mets. Back after this from your local station.
Between innings here at Shea, the song came on, Bully Bully. And here are 2 examples of Bully Bully. The inside fastball by Strawberry hit a ton, and the same with McReynolds.
And now the victim, Tudor, starts things in the 5th inning, and he tries to pull a Strawberry, and the count is 0-1.
Remember that song, Bully Bully, don't you? You were a Bully Bully fan, weren't you?
Blue Bayou is my song. Linda Ronstadt's version.
Roy Orbison.
That was, yeah, Roy Orbison.
that was Blue Bayou right there. 0-2. There may be another Blue Bayou coming up here.
Good mix of pitches, even though, as I said, Gooden usually gets better later in the game. And if you ask why, it's because he gets better rhythm. Of course, what's going to make it even easier in this ball game if he gets the right Dodgers and keeps them off the base.
No balls, 2 strikes the count. Tudor followed by Sachs and Hatcher here in the 5th inning. Tudor strikes out for the second time. Gooden has struck out 6 in 4 in the 3rd. Half a dozen Ks for the Doc. And up comes Sachs.
Jim, why is it true that if you don't get good pitchers early in the game that you usually don't get them?
Because the hardest thing is to make the adjustment from coming out of the mound. Now, the mound of the bullpen is supposed to be the same height as the one on the field, but I don't think they usually are. The slope's a little different, so you got to make that adjustment. Plus, what you do in the bullpen usually doesn't mean you're going to do the same things in the game.
Sachs fights it off and into the glove of Kuffel on a sinking, looping line drive.
I never got hit in the bullpen. I mean, you can throw it right down the middle, and you know, you try to work on the corners and getting your curveball, but just because you had a good curveball in the bullpen doesn't mean you're going to have one when you start the game. And
so it takes adjusting during game situations.
Also, Gooden has a very long windup. You know, he has to get that rhythm. It's like a long golf swing. Usually it's a little bit different to play well with one of that, unless you play a lot.
He's in rhythm here in the 5th inning. He's gotten the first 2. He's retired the last 5 in a row and 8 of the last 9. He has limited the Dodgers to 3 hits, 2 of those in the 1st inning. Good curve. And Hatcher was bailing out. 0-2.
Oh, he'll lock you. I mean, you can't even. The first move is to the left, and then you just, where'd the ball go?
Fastball, half swing, little tapper by the mound, and Elster throws the ball away. Elster bobbling it, should have held on to it, had no chance for the time he recovered after the initial bobble, and then compounds it by throwing it away. So Hatcher gets to second. They could give him 2 errors on that play. We'll see.
Either that or a base hit and an error. It has not been scored. but infielders especially have to make the transfer of the ball to the hand and the two fingers on the right hand, of course. Actually, what happened when that ball came down, it landed in the palm of Elster, and he tried to throw a palm ball to first base. And that's why he threw it wildly.
Gibson is at the plate. Gibson is 1 for 13 in the series. And they do give him 2 errors.
That's exactly right.
I thought the ball short hopped him, but in the replay, he should have made that play.
In the estimation of the score, and I agree with it in this particular case, he would have made the play had he come up with it cleanly, and then he simply compounded it. He gave him second by throwing the ball away. 1-1 to count on Gibson. Hatcher at second, 2 down, 5th inning. Mets ahead 3-2. Mets leading in the series 2-1. Two and one.
And that is the key to Kirk Gibson. Key to anybody really hitting off of Doc Gooden. You got to lay off that pitch.
Push it down with your eyes.
Of course, another thing that makes it so difficult is that to hit his fastball that's a little bit lower, you got to get the bat started. So that's why you tend to expand the strike zone on a Gooden.
3-1 with Marshall on deck.
Really, the game plan, and I pitched against Kirk in the American League, is to throw him enough strikes that you can get him to chase the bad pitches when you get ahead of him. Now, Gooden 3-1 doesn't have that option. He's either got to trick him, come back with a curveball, or try to throw him a fastball away and hope he tries to pull it.
Little chopper. Hernandez has to back up. Gooden covers. He overhands to Dwight. Makes the play. Nice play by Gooden. It remains Mets 3, Dodgers 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Dwight Gooden will lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning. Nice play by Gooden, fielding as Hernandez fields the ground ball, and Dwight makes the play at the bag.
Well, Mike Smith talked in the inside pitch about how good an athlete Dwight is, and right here the low throw makes it difficult. And what compounds the difficulty of this play is Gibson has got about 3.5 second speed down to first base, so you know you have to get there in a hurry, find the bag, and also catch the ball.
And being that close, Hernandez has to throw it hard enough to get Gibson,
Overhand.
but not hard enough to handcuff Gooden.
Gooden leading off against Tudor. And in essence, with Dwight making the play, it might have saved a run had that ball deflected off his glove with 2 out and Hatcher rounding third. The Dodgers probably would have tied it. 3-2 Mets in the bottom of the 5th inning. Shallow center field. Shelby comes in, and Gooden becomes out number 1 here in the 5th inning. Now to the top of the order, Mookie Wilson.
When you do that drill in spring training, they teach you to anticipate a runner being on second base. You cover the base, and you hit it with your right foot and push off and look at home. Except that here's Hernandez. He's looking down the line. He sees Gibson, how fast he's getting down the line. He has to throw the ball overhand. I'll tell you what, if Gooden wasn't a good athlete, that ball would have gone right by him and a run would have scored.
Mookie Wilson chases it as Tudor turns it over, and the count is 0-1. Mookie Wilson, a tough time in postseason. It reminds me, Mookie's real name is William, and of course it is Willie Wilson of Kansas City. And when you see numbers like that, Willie's had a great career, but you recall the 1980 World Series with 13 strikeouts. As Wilson hits a fly ball to left, and Gibson makes the catch. 2 down.
Now batting, third baseman, Greg
2 away in the bottom of the
Jeffries.
5th, and Jeffries is the batter. There's Tudor through 4.
Good pitch count. I think what makes that even more important, of course, is the fact that he did have that injured right hip, and it's the one he lands on, and they said that gave him a lot of problems when he landed on that leg. So going to have to watch it in the 6th and 7th innings.
Like right there.
Yep, exactly. 1-0, and when Tudor steps behind the mound like that, I know that got the attention of the Dodger medical staff in the dugout, and Tom Lasorda and Ron Pernoski as well.
Well, yeah, I think he's favoring it already, and again.
You know, the same thing that makes him favor that leg and possibly hurt it initially is the same thing that makes him deceptive as a pitcher. And that's that unusual leg kick. He's very deceptive with that leg kick toward first, but that's also one of the reasons probably that he ended up injuring that right hip.
Three balls, no strikes to count. And Jeffries is on. So Tudor walks Jeffries on 4 pitches, and that will bring up Keith Hernandez.
The first baseman, Keith.
A lot of times if you watch baseball, you'll see the catcher motion with the ball, get your arm up. He'll raise the ball over his head. He has really dropped down on the last 3 pitches, and that usually means that you're favoring something. And of course, one of his great assets is the fact that he is a control pitcher. Very few walks.
Ergo, high fastballs. Usually what you do, everything, you end up leading with your elbow and everything goes high.
0-1. I think that was the first ergo in the history of baseball broadcasting.
So was discernible before this year.
Ergo, the count is 0-1. Leave it to McCarver. 0-1 the count. And Tudor, who earlier picked Wilson off, sends Jeffries back to the bag. Breaking pitch hammered into right for a base hit. Jeffries will go to third, and Strawberry will come up with runners at first and third. And the Dodger bullpen already depleted, of course, with the suspension of Jay Howell. They are now down to an 8-man pitching staff.
That single was on that high curveball we talked about. He has to get it away. I don't believe he did there. And Hernandez is swinging the bat too well. Now look, he comes into the ball. Look at that right shoulder stay in there. The ball hangs inside instead of being away, and he just launches it down the right field line.
That's Brian Holton in the bullpen. And Lasorda naturally has to revamp the thinking in his bullpen in the absence of Howell. Strawberry takes a strike.
That's an interesting pitch. He came back with the same pitch that Strawberry cranked his last time up.
Of course, a lot of times you have to make an assessment of the pitcher. Was it the wrong pitch or did I throw it in the wrong spot? And I think the Tudor just felt he didn't make a good pitch last time, even though it did look like he got it inside.
2 on, 2 out. Good curve, low, 1-1.
You almost have a little, I mean, that's what your brain is, a little mini computer telling you how hard am I throwing, do I have good movement. 9 days off usually makes your fastball pretty straight. It's not exactly a case where you could pitch around Strawberry who hit 39, because the last time you faced this guy, he homered and the next guy hit one. So it's not like there's an open base.
Two and two.
I think Darryl is happy he didn't hit this ball because his heart's not exactly there.
Neither is the other part of his anatomy.
I said good curve before when the pitch was low. I mean, it was a good. I thought Strawberry was going to swing at it when he missed low. That was a good curve out of the strike zone, and you get Strawberry to chase it. Way outside, 3 and 2. Nice stop by Scioscia.
Yeah, sometimes those sweeping curveballs sweep too much. and they're hard to gauge from a catcher's standpoint. Scioscia almost goes too far on this ball. That sweeping curveball from John Tudor. And I wouldn't be surprised to see another one.
You're going to see Hernandez going. Scioscia reminding everybody, 2 down. Hernandez will be off and moving, and so Hatcher goes back to normal depth at first base. Jeffries is at third, and the 3-2 pitch to Darryl Strawberry. Instead, Tudor backs off.
I'll tell you one thing. You don't hit 20 home runs during the regular season, another one tonight off left-handers, and not be able to hit the breaking ball if he makes a mistake. He can hit the breaking ball as far as anybody if it's up in the strike zone.
Curve, got him. So for the first time in the series, Strawberry strikes out. He struck out 127 times during the regular year. Mets squander a threat, 3-2 after 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The owner of the following...
There they are, like father and son. The Empire State Building on the left and the Chrysler Building on the right. Manhattan on a beautiful night. From the Goodyear blimp, which is hovering above Shea Stadium in Queens, as we go to the 6th inning. 3-2 Mets in Game 4 of this championship series, and Mike Marshall leads off. 0-1. Marshall has struck out twice. Dwight Gooden has struck out 6 through 5. One and one. Marshall, Shelby, and Scioscia. Dodgers got 2 runs in the first. John Shelby drove in both with a single, and the Mets exploded for 3 in the 4th. Back-to-back homers by Strawberry and McReynolds. Strawberry's coming with Hernandez on.
A very similar batting style that Mike Marshall has when you compare it to Darryl Strawberry. Doesn't hold his bat behind him, but he does more or less cock the bat. When you have a guy throwing 95, it is tough to get the bat head out.
There's that curl that Jim was talking about. When Marshall goes back, he curls the bat over his helmet. Strawberry does it to a great degree. Marshall to some degree. But most power hitters have to do that to generate power.
Breaking pitch, grounded foul. 2-2.
Yeah, he said he really tried to work on that and cut down on it because, again, as I said, this was his lowest total of strikeouts. See, now the bat, actually, the head points towards the pitcher's mound. So now you have to bring it all the way around. It makes the swing a little bit longer. That was a curveball.
I think Strawberry's is more pronounced than anybody in the National League. That's why he doesn't pull many pitches.
Still 2-2 on Marshall.
And that's why Mike Marshall doesn't pull a lot of pitches either. There's Darryl. Check him out the next time he hits. He's got so far to go with that bat head that he can't get it out there in time to be a real pull hitter. But he does have great power the other way in the center field.
And Gooden full now, 3-2. Fights it off. Again tomorrow in the 5th game at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Sid Fernandez goes to the mound for the Mets. And for the Dodgers, probably Tim Belcher. And then it's on to the West Coast one way or the other for the Dodgers. Either to continue playing or to go home. Game 6 would be played Tuesday, Game 7 Wednesday. 3-2 breaking ball. He's inside. Carter thought he had him. Just missing. And Rennert might have been a little crossed up, the plate umpire.
Well, catchers usually don't get those particular types of strikes for pitchers because they're sitting over the middle of the plate and they have too far to travel to frame a strike. Watch Gary. See, when you have that much movement, you're not going to get that breaking ball. That ball looked like it was inside anyway.
Plus, it's right in the line of sight of Dutch Rennert sitting on the inside part of the plate.
Shelby, 0-1.
The more often when you're a pitcher and you can hit the area where the catcher moves to, the more strikes you're going to get.
Sure.
And if he's sitting on the inside part of the plate and you throw it away, he has to reach for it. A lot of times it makes it much more difficult for an umpire to call that a strike.
If he's sitting where that pitch was thrown to Marshall,
yes,
pretty good chance he's going to get it.
But it was up a bit, and breaking balls are not designed to be thrown up. They may be strikes, but an umpire a lot of times goes on design alone. If it's a breaking ball, he thinks low. It hangs high, you don't get it.
You don't get the call. A lot of times the batter will get pretty good wood on it to begin with.
Yeah, a lot of times you don't catch the ball either.
Right.
Shelby's first 2 hits were on fastballs, and it looks like Gooden's going to try to get him out with a curveball. 1 and 2, both of the strikes have been curves.
Breaking ball fouled off. Still 1 and 2.
Now he's set up for the fastball. Of course, you could say that about any hitter pertaining to Gooden's fastball. He's throwing him a bevy of breaking balls, and now the heat would be much more effective, you would think, than the first 2 times up.
Well, of course, as a former pitcher, he tried to pitch him in the first time, and he broke his bat, but he got a hit, then he went away, and he got a hit on fastball. So
goes to a fastball, and it's hit foul outside third.
And again, the assessment you have to make, were they good fastballs? Did I throw them well? Did I get them in a good spot? Well, I'll tell you what, if a guy gets a couple of hits on your fastball and you put that in your back pocket, you're not going to be out there very long. You have to reason why he got the hits.
1 and 2, nobody out, top of the 6th inning. Mets leading 3-2. Marshall at first base. And the 1-2 pitch to John Shelby is a breaking ball away, 2 and 2.
It still appears that he is struggling. He's not in a good groove either with his curveball or his fastball. It doesn't look like he can throw the ball down and away or consistently get on top of his curveball.
Gooden has already thrown 13 pitches in the inning with nobody out and a man on. Marshall at first base, and 2 and 2 the count on Shelby. Got him. Breaking ball. Strikeout number 7.
The catcher, Mike Scioscia.
And now look where this curveball goes. Not only did look at the break, look at the glove of Carter. A little bit off the plate, and it almost looked like that curveball backed up.
It did. By backing up,
he's going the opposite direction. The curveball should go from right to left from a right-handed pitcher.
That backup breaking ball is so hard to gauge as a hitter because it's so unpredictable. You predict it to come down and in, it stays away. That's why it's tough to hit, and that was another one to Scioscia.
0-1 the count.
Now, if he threw a little more 3/4, you'd call that maybe trying to backdoor your breaking ball. In other words, start it outside the plate and catch the outside corner, which is really what he's doing. I'm not sure if he's doing it intentionally.
Oh, and 2.
Really what makes Gooden so difficult to hit is the different planes as a hitter you have to hit off. You have the curveball starting at your head and ending down about knee high. As you look at what we were saying, pretty much even. Tonight, of course, he's thrown a few more fly balls than he normally does. But you have the curveball going down, you have the fastball going up, and the appearance is that even his low fastball has a little bit of lift to it. Not lift, movement left or right.
Anticipating a strikeout. They wave the towels, and the 0-2 pitch is grounded down to Hernandez, who goes to Elster for 1. Nice play by Kevin. The throw was slightly offline to turn the double play. And at the end of 5 1/2, 3-2 Mets.
You remember that verse from Stephen Sondheim, Send in the Clowns? You with your feet on the ground, me in midair. Well, that would apply right here as Mike Marshall, nicknamed Bigfoot, Sasquatches Kevin Elster. Boy, that is a great play by Elster. I mean, a great play.
3-6-3. Sondheim, huh? Side by side.
Side by side with Sondheim. It's a little night music favorable to the Mets' liking right now.
Oh, boy. 1-0 to Kevin McReynolds, who swings through a fastball in the count 1-1. And Elster on the bench awaiting his turn. He'd be due up 4th in the inning. Tudor missing low, ball 2, 2-1. Probably Tudor's last inning of work. He is due up 3rd in the 7th. 3-2 Mets. And Hamilton can't backhand it. Rolls down into the corner, picked up by a fan. And McReynolds at second base with a ground rule double, which is probably where he would have wound up anyway had the ball remained in play.
Now batting, the catcher.
Oh, third base, such a reflex position. Maybe 2 or 3 steps and a dive usually. The only way you can catch a ball if you get a good hop. Watch that ball go right over his glove. He was there. The ball took not a bad hop, but a tricky hop into the corner for a double. Hamilton's one of his greatest strengths are his hands. He's in the position to make the play, but the ball doesn't allow him to do that.
So now Gary Carter and the Dodger bullpen gets busy again. 0-1. That's Jesse Orozco and Brian Holton. Now Holton, the right-hander, a long man, but again with the absence of Jay Howell and the 8-man pitching staff, it's a whole other thing now for Lasorda. His closer has to become Alejandro Pena, with Orozco and Holton as the setup men. And also Ricky Horton. He has Horton available to come in and get left-handed hitters out. And there is Ricky in the bullpen. It's Horton. I think I said Orozco. Horton throwing in the pen. Orozco now has to almost move back down a notch and become the closer with Pena. No balls, 2 strikes the count.
Carter with not a thought to move McReynolds to third base. He's followed by the bottom of the order. A lot of times you try to push him over. Not now.
Still 0-2.
Especially if you're a pull hitter, and that's what Gary is. For him to give himself up, even though he did trickle that big hit of the game yesterday, really, I think.
That's true, against a right-hander on a fastball away.
Yes, Hershiser was that second run that scored when he just kind of trickled one through the right side of the infield. But that's what you'd like to have Gary Carter trying to do. See Tudor switching the seams of the ball in his hands. He throws 2 fastballs, one with the seams, so it has a tendency to sink. The other one across the seams, he's holding it right there. To have the ball a little more light. Goes up, runs away from the right-handed hitter.
Line to center field, over the head of Shelby, but he backs up and can't make the catch. McReynolds is being waved around third. He'll score. Carter is on his way to third. Saxon's relay is offline. 4-2.
Normally when the balls hit the center, it does not slice. This one does. John Shelby turns to his, you can see turning him to his right. Now the ball slices back to the left. The ball that he should have caught. He's an outstanding center fielder. You didn't see that right there.
Had he turned the right way first, I agree with you, Jim. But that's another reason that you don't have a guy like Carter giving himself up trying to push McReynolds to third. In the process, Gary ends up on third and drives in a run.
A triple for Carter, 4-2. Dodgers go to the bullpen. Brian Holton coming in. Back at Shea, let's take a look at the 90-yard dash as described by the Flojo of our booth. Go ahead, Tim.
All of you ex-catchers in the audience, stick your chest out and be proud. A rare feat, a triple by a catcher. As Gary Carter chugging it all the way around the third. A little belly flop on the end.
Don't be humble. I believe that it was duly noted in 1985 during the World Series that you did lead the National Leagues in triples one year.
Yeah, 1966, right? At the new spacious St. Louis, you know, Busch Stadium, had a lot of gaps. Those deep, if you have line drive hitter, left center, right center, you could find some holes and run all day.
You mean they didn't have any other line drive hitters on your team that were fast?
Those would have been 13 inside the park home runs for most people.
Hey, we kid around. McCarver had 57 triples in his career. You didn't even know that, did you?
How'd you know that?
Well, little birdie told me. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Brian Holton starts Tuffle with a breaking pitch for a strike, and the count 0-1.
Fastball changeup and a big, big curveball. Really done a fine job for the Dodgers this year. Middle relief.
Holton has been one of the real unsung heroes in the Dodgers' march toward the Western Division crown. And it would figure the long man, the first guy out of the bullpen, is not going to get very much acclaim. But Brian Holton went through the season with an ERA of 1.70 and 7 victories.
Good over-the-top breaking ball.
Little change and a ball he turns over and one he throws with the seams. And that's, again, it's real simple. You just hold the ball differently and you can have two fastballs. Maybe not a Roger McDowell sinker, but you can have a ball that's going to go down a little bit. There's that big curveball.
1-2.
If you got a man on third, you come in and you get ahead. 0-2, now 1-2. You can see he's been pitching extremely well. He's thinking strikeout. Strikeout or pop-up. You either want to come way inside and you have a couple of balls to spare. You got to make your pitch.
I bet he's thinking curveball too, Jim. He's thrown 3 in a row.
Time called as they remove some litter. We can tell you tomorrow night, Monday Night Football from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The New York Giants take on the Philadelphia Eagles at 9 Eastern time in a very key battle in the NFC East. Tomorrow at 9 on Monday Night Football. And we'll be back on, of course, from here at noon. Tuffle chases a breaking pitch and strikes out. That's a very big out. As Tuffle questions the call of Dutch Rennert, perhaps contending that he foul tipped it. But Rennert says no.
And had he foul tipped this ball, he would have been allowed to continue to hit because the ball did go down. Tuffle tried to argue with Dutch, but he clearly missed that ball. Now, Davy Johnson, here's a situation that he doesn't normally squeeze, but with 1 out and Carter at third base, Davy may go to the squeeze. Gooden's on deck.
Elster at the plate.
And if you're Mike Scioscia, you got to be thinking pitch out.
Breaking ball low, ball 1, 1-0.
The deeper in the count a pitcher falls in a squeeze situation, the more likely the squeeze is, because then a catcher doesn't have the luxury of a pitch out.
And Scioscia pitching out here, 2-0. And now he would figure to definitely not have the luxury of a pitch out. That's not to eliminate the possibility of one, but very unlikely. 2-0.
Tommy Lasorda and Ron Peranowski telling Holton now to work from the stretch. Thereby you eliminate a couple of steps from the runner at third, because you cannot break too soon if you're the runner at third in a squeeze situation. Because if you break too soon, that gives the pitcher a chance to pitch out or throw at the batter, depending on which style the organization uses. Some guys say knock the hitter down.
Well, of course, if you call for a curveball, that's tough to do. I mean, you obviously understand that. So, and we have a curveball pitcher out there. If he's called for a curveball, he's just going to throw the ball outside.
And they pitch out again. 3-0. Yeah, there was something that told me that it was possible there, because they've got Gooden on deck, and even if they walk him, you take a chance at perhaps setting up a double play, and maybe you figure you got a better way working yourself out of the inning, pitching to Gooden and Wilson than Elster in this particular situation, and the pitcher. 3-0 the count. And ball 4. And in a funny way, it amounts to an intentional walk in a way.
Well, you know, you really take a chance 1-0, 2-0 pitch outs. I'll tell you, you got close to a foolproof way to get the runner in from third right now. If Gooden can make contact on a bunt and bunt it down the third baseline, the runner at third follows the third baseman in. When he throws it to first, you walk home. There's no defense for it. The shortstop has to cover second. The second baseman covers first, and the first baseman charges along with the third baseman. You bunt the ball down the third base line, and the runner at third, regardless of his speed, follows the third baseman in, and after the bunt is made, the throw is made to first, you walk home 45 feet because that's where you're going to be.
Gooden up there to swing away, chops it foul. But that was a wonderful little chess game there. You could almost see Lasorda saying to himself, you know, it's 2-0, and now Johnson's got to figure I'm not going to pitch out, so maybe he's got the squeeze on. I'll try to outthink him.
Yeah, and some managers will end up pitching out if they believe in the squeeze. And Lasorda is a manager that likes to squeeze, but Davey Johnson's not. But it's irrelevant, obviously, to Tommy, because it's in effect as far as he was concerned. That's why Scioscia pitched out twice in a row.
And that's also why Ron Peranowski went out there. In the National League, you can bring all your infielders in. Only 2 players in the American League, so they just discussed what are we going to do in case they bunt.
Infield's really halfway now, Griffin and Sachs in particular.
Of course, the way to combat what you said is really to have your pitcher have responsibility of covering, throwing the ball, covering third base, let your third baseman stay back.
They're not going to do it, though. Your pitcher is going to charge home the minute he sees the hitter go into a bunting situation.
He's up there to swing away again, and it's 0-2.
Well, you're exactly right, Al, because you almost, it's not like, you know, Gooden's a pretty good hitter, hitting 178, does make contact pretty well. So you're gambling, but you're taking the percentage gamble. Even if you do pitch out a few times, if you make the pitches you're going to make, and Holton has good enough stuff, he ought to be able to strike out Gooden or get him to pop up. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But again, you're playing the percentages, and a lot of managers like to do that, especially when you're trailing. You can't afford to give them another run.
0-2 the count. 1-2. Gary Carter at third, and Kevin Elster at first with 1 away. Mets on top 4-2, 6th inning.
See, Sachs and Griffin still halfway in case there's a slowly hit ball where they can't get to. They'll come home to get the runner at third, Gary Carter.
Curve is grounded down to Griffin. He goes to Sachs 1, back to first, double play. And so Holton keeps them in the game, and at the end of 6, 4-2 New York. Pitching around Elster, or not letting Elster get the run in on a squeeze, and taking his chances with Gooden and or Wilson, and he gets the double play.
The 1-0 and 2-0 pitch outs to Kevin Elster. It really was. We were talking about that play, though, with runners at first and third. I have yet to hear anybody talk about how to defend that play. Your shortstop goes to second, the third baseman comes in, and the runner simply follows the third baseman in, and it takes a very alert third baseman to fake him back and then throw, because you don't usually think the guy's following you.
What makes it all come together, as Tommy says, I don't win all those games. He said my players do. Holton makes a great pitch,
right,
curveball away, and Gooden hit it hard, but right at Griffin, and tailor-made double play.
And a big one, too, because it keeps the Dodgers in the game, and Hamilton starts the 7th inning by grounding it to third, and Jeffries throws him out. So 1 pitch, 1 quick out here in the 7th inning, and it will bring up Alfredo Griffin. Goodyear Blimp Enterprise. Jim Maloney from Vienna, Virginia is the pilot. And a beautiful shot, Shea Stadium in New York, site of Game 4 of the National League Championship Series, with the 5th game coming your way tomorrow at noon Eastern Time. With the pitcher Bolton due up next, Rick Fortin is again throwing in the Dodger bullpen as Griffin looks at a strike. 0-1.
Well, it's interesting about Gooden, only 23 years of age, but he seems like he's been pitching for at least 10 years. I mean, his name has been in everybody's mind. I honestly think he will get a lot better. I don't know if he'll ever have another 24-4 year because I mean, you got to get all the breaks. You got to pitch extremely well, which is what he did with that 153 ERA. But he's going to learn how to hold runners on better, something he told me he was going to do in spring training. And he's also doing arm exercises for the first time. So his arm should be stronger or less liable to have it hurt when throwing baseballs.
Breaking pitch, grounded to short, corralled by Elster. Griffin is gone, and Danny Heath will come up to pinch hit for Brian Holton.
Six
Ladies and
innings,
gentlemen, your attention, please.
91 pitches, which is what? About 17 pitches an inning, which is not bad. 15, 16, especially when you're talking a power pitcher.
Yeah, you mentioned Doc's weightlifting program. He was frightened into that because he had some soreness in his shoulder earlier in the year, and it was soreness that he had never experienced before. Consequently, he went to the weights.
Two out, bases empty. That was the most chronicled shoulder soreness in history, I think, when that baby popped up.
After a rain delay. What a 31-minute rain delay, and he's never had a problem with any parts of his body. I mean, he's just had he's got a great windup. He follows through well, so he takes a lot of strain off his arm in itself. But the bottom line is that when you're 23, you don't know everything, and I think he said nobody ever told me about it. And again, we're not talking doing Nautilus, not that that's bad for you, but you have to do specified arm exercises for pitchers.
2-1 on Danny Heath.
Really actually having an excellent year, but not as a pinch hitter. 4 for 44. Ben Hines, the batting instructor, says takes too many first pitches. That's the way he likes to hit. Now, unfortunately, you take a pitch and you give Doc Gooden or some flamethrower that's coming in to save a game a strike, and you're in trouble.
Heath, who has a World Series ring from 1986 when he was a Met, takes a curve. They appeal. No, says Harry Wendelstedt with emphasis.
Good call. You could see the barrel of the bat didn't go past home plate. Watch the hands lead through the strike zone, but not the bat barrel. Oh,
oh yes.
Little different. I didn't think he went around. I think intent has a lot to do with it.
And he draws the walk with 2 gone, and that'll bring up Sachs.
Oh, in all honesty, the guy that has the best view is the third base umpire, and from the center field camera, I thought he stopped, but when you see the replay,
Yeah, almost all replays, it seems like the hitters go around. But I think the intent is taken in either by the third or first base umpire, and I think that's important.
You mean he didn't intend to try to hit that downer,
right,
so to speak?
I didn't intend to swing the bat.
Because I was fooled.
Don't try and trap me.
I think I did. The guy throws a curveball off the table.
I admit it.
I didn't mean to swing. I couldn't hit it, so I didn't mean to swing. I understand. Yeah. Okay.
2 down, Heath at first. No balls, 1 strike on Sachs. That one bounces away from Carter. He has no idea where it is and now discovers it just behind the plate. Gary turned around and the ball was right there. Nothing he could have done with it anyway as Heath advances to second on a wild pitch.
Another look at the curveball, and again, that's about a 59-footer, so you can't really smother it. I mean, the ball bounces so far out in front of you, you got to hope that you get the right hot. Take a look from this angle.
Well, the reason for that is it hits you high on the shoulder as it did right there. Carter has no idea where it is. The closer the breaking ball is to the catcher, obviously, the more you can center it on your chest protector and keep the ball in front of you. When a ball bounces out, it's a 59-foot curveball, then it's more apt to bounce higher by the time it gets to you. That's what that one did.
1-1 to Sachs. Is chopped to third. Charged by Jeffries. Throws on the run. That's a. And it's 6.5 it remains. Mets 4, Dodgers 2 in Game 4. Ricky Horton comes in to pitch for the Dodgers as we go to the bottom of the 7th. The inside pitch on Ricky from Mike Schmidt.
Ricky Horton has a unique role for the Dodgers. He'll be called upon to get the tough left-handed hitters out for the Mets in the middle of the ball game. He'll do that by using a sinking fastball. He has what we call a slurve, a sweeping curveball to go after the left-handed hitters with. And for right-handed hitters, an excellent changeup he learned from John Tudor. They were teammates in St. Louis before they got together on the Dodgers. If they get a runner on first base, watch Ricky Horton. He probably has the best move to first base of any pitcher we'll see in the League Championship Series.
Well, as Mike stated, his role is to get tough left-handed hitters out of the middle of the game, but that role has been altered now in the absence of Jay Howell, because he's called in here to pitch the entire inning and leave Lasorda with Orozco and Pena now to close out. So it's a different role here than for which he was acquired, and Mookie Wilson takes outside, ball 1.
It was interesting yesterday that Orozco came in to pitch to Mookie Wilson, and Wilson singled to drive in the game-winning RBI action
to right field, and Marshall backs up and makes the catch.
And the reason I say that is because Mookie Wilson is now 1 for 25 lifetime against Ricky Horton.
Greg Jeffries.
I mean, you would think that maybe Horton would be the guy that would be brought in to pitch to Wilson, when at the time he was 1 for 24 lifetime.
It's a robust 0-40. Jeffries at the plate. Takes a strike. 0-1.
Oh, my former manager Earl Weaver used to have a computer really print out of all the stats against certain pitchers by certain hitters. And you could always tell the crucial time of the game he would come, if you could call Earl's ability to run a sprint, sprinting through the locker room to get the cards to find out who got who out and so forth and so forth.
That's lifted foul out of play, and the count 1-2.
Okay, a very unusual windup for Ricky Horton. Most guys drop their arm. It's like if you want to hit the ball in golf a little bit farther, you have a bigger arc. He does not drop his arm. And that's mainly because he takes his arm straight back.
Steve Sachs handles this one. And quickly 2 down with Keith Hernandez coming up.
And there's also that hesitation right at the top when he kicks that right leg around. It almost stops, and then he comes forward. It's very deceiving to a hitter.
Well, that's the way a lot of pitchers gather their momentum. You know, you have to stop somewhere. Like hitters now, it's very fashionable to say, well, to come forward, you got to get back. So you see a lot of guys back on their back legs. As a pitcher, you got to stop somewhere. And when you do that, you gather yourself, and then you get your momentum going towards home plate.
Keith Hernandez with 2 hits tonight. Gets backed off by a fastball, 1-0.
See, Horton is what I'd call a stiff back leg pitcher. In other words, he doesn't drop and drive. Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, Jerry Kuzman, guys who were in the Mets organization, they drop their back leg. Horton's left leg will pretty much stay straight. That's the way I threw it. It's not that it's good or bad. When you drop and drive, a lot of times, depending on your body frame, you can have a very long career. Kuzman, Ryan, Tom Seaver, Palmer. Well, yes, but I was an opposite type pitcher.
He meant David Palmer.
Yes, right. Touche, Mr. Michaels.
1-0 to Hernandez, who's grounded to the right side, and Steve Sachs throws him out. So Horton comes out of the pen. The Mets are down 1-2-3, and we'll move along to the 8th inning in the 4th game, with New York leading Los Angeles 4-2. At Shea Stadium, Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, and Tim McCarver. And the K's hung up for Dwight Gooden, who thus far through 7 innings against the Dodgers has struck out a total of 7. He has limited LA to 3 hits, 2 of those in the 1st inning. And he goes to work in the 8th, 6 outs away from giving the Mets a 3-1 lead in the series. It'll be Hatcher, Gibson, and Marshall. Mets on top 4-2. Mickey Hatcher 0 for 2 plus a walk.
very similar, really a line of what he did out in California, except for the walks. And again, it doesn't look like he has quite the rhythm he had out in L.A.
Hatcher taking all the way, too.
Right. But the count 2-0 and you're down by 2 runs, it's almost automatic there.
It's a disappearing thing in the game, though, Al.
Yeah, that's true. Broken bat, fly ball to center field, and Mookie Wilson is there to make the catch. 1 away.
Baseball has changed for the worse, I think, along those lines. Guys trying to fight their way on base when their team is down by more than 1 run in the late innings.
We mentioned the other night the Dodgers in their illustrious history 1-60 when trailing after 7 innings, and their only victory, as we stated in Game 1, was that famous game in 1947 in the World Series, the Dodgers and the Yankees, where Bill Bevins of the Yankees had a no-hitter with 2 out in the 9th inning as Gibson swings and misses. He was working on a no-hitter even though the Dodgers had scored a run because Bevins was very wild that day, and Lavagetto doubled in the 9th to drive in 2 to break up the no-hitter and give the Dodgers a 3-2 win. And that's the 1 out of the 61. It's amazing. 0-2. Well, you said before, Tim, though, to pick up on that point again, it's almost as if the players are a bit selfish. You're down by 2 runs, and Hatcher did the thing you have to do. It's 2-0. You take the pitch. But as you say, it's a dying form.
I think the long-term contracts have something to do with that, too. They don't pay you on walking anymore.
Well, of course,
what kind of contributor to the team you are.
Well, that's true, but
to a degree. You know
I just think that it generally shows a lack of ability to know what the strike zone is. You know, guys are selfish in some ways, but they don't know the strike zone. I mean, you don't have to put the take on if you're a manager if you know that guy is smart enough, beating enough, and has enough self-discipline to take that pitch. Hatcher, of course, I mean, here's a guy that walked 4 times in 191 at bats, 7, but with 3 intentional. So you put it on, otherwise he's going to be ripping and slashing.
2-2 pitch is fouled away.
And of course, this Met pitching staff, I mean, they led the National League in ERA, strikeouts, fewest hits, fewest walks, and fewest home runs allowed. And when you do those things, you're doing a lot of things right. There really hasn't been a team since 1966 when the Dodgers did that that's done that.
The 2-2 pitch. Strikeout number 8.
Right fielder, Mike Marshall.
And so Gooden now in the championship series has 18 strikeouts. Marshall. We stayed on Gibson because you never know with Kirk, though he's been pretty mellow in this series to this point.
I was thinking the same thing. It's almost like a simmering volcano right there.
Yep. Kirk is now 1 for 15.
Well, the player is a little more apt to get upset when he misses a pitch he should have hit than when he got overmatched. You know, and there's Gibson trying to hit the high fastball, and that's not his strength, but it is Gooden's.
0-1 to Marshall. Taken for a strike, and the count is 0-2.
See, that's when Good gets in a good rhythm. He allows his body to get through, lands on his toes, follow through, and establish the low and away strike with his fastball. He hasn't done that all night. That was about the first ball he got down and away.
0-2 pitch. Half swing bouncer back to Gooden. And at the end of 7.5 it remains Mets 4, Dodgers 2. In the 4th inning, the Dodgers were ahead 2-0 when Darryl Strawberry came to the plate with Keith Hernandez at first base and hit that one into Suffolk County. And then Kevin McReynolds followed with this drive over the wall in left. The Mets led 3-2, added 1 in the 6th, and here's Strawberry leading off in the bottom of the 8th, 4-2 New York. And the pitch to Darryl is a strike from Ricky Horton. Strawberry, McReynolds, and Carter. 1-1.
As a hitter, you never know if they're throwing at you until he throws the next one low and away on the corner with a breaking ball. And then you know it was a purpose pitch.
1-2 the count.
I think baseball is so sensitive now to the inside pitch. I think that's taken that inside pitch away from a lot of pitchers.
Well, that's where your long-term contracts come in. You know, if you're throwing at a guy, used to be just part of the game. Now you're messing with my livelihood.
2-2 on Strawberry.
I mean, you may have even played back then, playing in 4 decades, but I don't want to get too offensive, but I mean, the guys that I talked to when I first came up, which was in like 1965, said you used to tell him you were going to throw at a guy, and the guy would start ducking. It was just part of the game.
Yeah.
3-2 pitch to Strawberry. Got him. Good breaking pitch. Well, looking sharp tonight.
Exactly. Just think about what Jim was talking about. The fastball in off the plate. It may come early in the count. The breaking ball on the outside may come late in the count. But that's the cat and mouse pitchers play with hitters. Inside, outside. That's how most effective outs are gotten out. That up and down deal will not do it unless you're a sinker baller. That in and out, the best way to work hitters.
0-1 on McReynolds. 1 out, bases empty. Let's just touch on the Jay Howell situation again for late tuners in. Howell, ejected from yesterday's game when pine tar was found on his glove, was suspended for 3 days by National League President Bart Giamatti. As McReynolds grounds it to third, and Hamilton takes care of Kevin for the 2nd out, and Gary Carter comes to the plate. The Dodgers, as a team, have no avenue for appeal. They cannot appeal. But Howell, through the Players Association, can appeal. That possibility exists. If they do appeal, the suspension is held in abeyance, and if he were to do it, let's say tomorrow morning, Howell could become active again tomorrow when this series resumes. That is something that Howell said he is contemplating. He said that about an hour before the game. No further word.
I am really surprised he waited that long. I mean, considering how the Players Association reacts to most normal grievances, I'm surprised he wasn't in uniform tonight. You know, you can't get to the World Series unless you win the playoffs, and basically the due process law allows you to, and that's why I asked Tommy yesterday, are you going to appeal it? Well, if he doesn't do it, then I expect Jay Hall will do it.
There you see another indication of how Horton is pitching. You don't pitch inside, you can't win.
Well, especially when your strength is the low and away changeup. He'll come in, then he'll take something off like Tudor does, but he throws a little bit harder than John. And there's the changeup away.
2-1.
I don't know too many good pitchers that don't work at some time, either in their career or in a ball game, both sides of the plate.
In the air to right center field, deep but playable for Marshall. And Horton does the job by setting down the 6 men he faces. Shelby, Scioscia, and Hamilton in the Dodger ninth. 4-2 Mets. Shea Stadium, Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. We can tell you the executive producer is Jeffrey Mason. Tonight's game produced by Kurt Gowdy, directed by Craig Janoff, our technical director Mike Blazo, Earl Feynman, Jaime Bravo, Mike Cohn, Patty Rodoloso, Tony Versley, Chuck Burtz, Margaret Beauvais, part of our crew here tonight. And as always, our thanks to Alan Roth up here in the booth, and to Steve Hurt, our man for all seasons, with the research, statistics, and information. Beat LA is the chant at Shea Stadium in the 9th inning, as John Shelby fouls it back in the count 0-1. Wally Backman takes over at second base.
You know, it's amazing. He comes right after Shelby. He's already had 2 hits on fastballs, yet his rhythm is so good, he's got more confidence. And there's the curveball.
And it's 0-2 on Shelby.
And I'll tell you right now, if you're John Shelby, you don't know what to look for. 2 strikes, you usually look for the ball anyway, but you're not up there guessing. You're just trying to make contact.
One and two.
That's a show me inside, and then he's going to come back with a breaking ball. He struck Shelby out on the breaking ball the last time up, and the 2 hits were on the fastball.
Grounded foul. Once again tomorrow, Game 5, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Dodgers and Mets tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock on the coast. Monday Night Football, the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles tomorrow. Two and two.
You saw the bench shot right here of the Dodgers. I mean, Gooden is only 8-1 lifetime with a 1.24 ERA, so it's not like they haven't seen this before. In fact, 2 runs is an outburst against Gooden.
Curve, and he fights it off. He got fooled on it and fouled it off to stay alive. Three and two. Russell and Perinoski. Ball 4. So Shelby walks. Third time he has reached tonight. Mickey Hatcher exhorting the Dodgers as Mike Scioscia gets ready to stand in.
That could be a very, very big walk.
Sure is. If you look at Gooden now, watch his reaction, but watch his head. See how he jerks his head? It seems like it's just a small thing, but if you jerk your head, you don't throw the ball relaxed. You have to relax your head. I mean, if you make that quick motion, it doesn't allow you to be as smooth.
Scioscia at the plate. Hernandez playing back of the runner at first, and that's ripped to right field and deep. Strawberry goes back. She's gone. Mike Scioscia with 35 home runs in 8.5 years in the major leagues. And we talked about him throughout the series. Big and strong, but really a contact hitter. A man who doesn't strike out a lot and who doesn't hit very many home runs, averaging about 4 per season. It's the biggest of his career.
It wasn't the home run, it was the walk. Had he had a solo homer with nobody on, it'd be a 4-3 ball game.
I'm sure he's just trying to make contact here, but again, as we said, a lot of velocity, you better get the bat going. So even if you're only trying to make contact, you have to have a good swing, and it has to be a quick one. The reason is Scioscia says, I don't hit a lot of home runs, I don't lift the ball. Well, he lifted that one.
Did he ever?
Game tied 4-4, still nothing cooking in the Mets bullpen as Hamilton fouls it off. And in the Dodger bullpen, it's Alejandro Pena who gets up.
And not Jay Howell.
Howell back at the hotel, suspended for the moment anyway. Hamilton is the number 7 hitter, then Griffin, and then they get the Horton spot. 0-2. Until the home run, Gooden had allowed 3 hits tonight, all singles, 2 of them in the first inning. 1-2 the count.
That's the 11th home run that Dwight has given up the entire season. And we're talking 250 plus now, probably 260 with the 2 playoff games.
Now Randy Myers throws in the bullpen. 2-2. That home run was the first for the Dodgers in the playoffs.
And think about what the walk did to Shelby. When you walk a runner or a hitter and you're 2 runs ahead, then the next pitch you want to make sure you're going to get ahead. And that's what he was trying to do to Scioscia.
Got him on a breaking ball. So Hamilton goes down on strikes number 9 for Dwight Gooden. Scioscia hit 3 during the regular season. 1 out here in the 9th inning, and Alfredo Griffin comes to the plate.
And that's the great thing about baseball. You don't anticipate Scioscia to hit a home run as a pitcher or even a fan. So you try to throw a strike, you try to throw it away, you throw it inside. He's trying to be quick because you got a lot of velocity and it results a home run. You just never know about this game.
Griffin strokes one into right field for a base hit. So Alfredo is on, and now Mike Davis will be announced as the pinch hitter, and when he is, we'll see about Davey Johnson's move. He's got the lefty throwing in the bullpen. If he brings in Myers, then Lasorda could conceivably go to his bench again. He's got Mike Sharperson as a right-handed pinch hitting possibility, and Tracy Woodson as well.
I think he's got to make a move here just from the base running standpoint. Good. Alfredo only stole 7 bases, was thrown out 5 times, but in the American League, used 26, 31 bases. So from a pitching standpoint, you think it would be a lot harder to pitch the run off of Myers.
You saw Lasorda yelling out to the mound. He wanted Dutch Renner to move them along. Hernandez and Carter went to the mound to buy some more time for Myers. And Tommy said, hey, come on, get him going. And now with Davis announced as the pinch hitter, Davey Johnson's going to make a double switch. And he's going to bring Randy Myers in from the bullpen. And then we'll see about a possible counter move on the part of Tommy Lasorda. So another wild one in the National League Championship Series. And Gooden still seeking that elusive first postseason win. Game tied 4-4. So Dwight Gooden trying to protect a 4-2 advantage and can't because of the man on the right. Meanwhile, the Dodgers countering the move with Myers coming in, and also Mike Scioscia comes in to do the catching to make a double switch since Gary Carter made the last out in the 8th inning. They put Myers into the 6th spot in the order, Carter's spot, and Scioscia bats 9th, meaning he'll come up 3rd in the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Dodgers, after announcing Mike Davis as the pinch hitter for Horton, go to the bench for the right-hand batting Tracy Woodson.
Tell you, mentioning Gary Carter, it's those potential tack-on runs that are so important. Back in the 6th inning, Carter at third base and nobody out, and Brian Holton came in. He got a strikeout and a double play. Otherwise, the Mets would be 1-up right now.
That's that little game within the game they played with Elster at the plate. Would he squeeze? Would he not? 2-0 pitch out. They eventually walked him, and then Gooden hit into the double play, and Holton kept them in the game. Woodson fouls it back, and the count 0-1. Woodson can play 3rd or 1st. Griffin can run. Alfredo at first base, checking out Amalfitano's signs with 1 out in the 9th inning.
Not only that, you've got Mike Scioscia, a fresh catcher in there. It is very difficult to play late inning defense as a catcher. Not only is your arm not loose, but your footwork is not developed. Cold arm, cold footwork, especially on a cool night like tonight.
It does have an excellent throwing arm. If
yes,
warm.
He does.
Woodson hits it into left field for a base hit. Griffin will stop at 2nd. And the Dodgers have runners at 1st and 2nd with 1 out. In the top of the order, Steve Sachs coming up. Well, the first game was won by the Mets with a 3-run 9th inning rally. The 2nd game ended dramatically with the Mets rallying in the 9th inning. Carter flied out with the bases loaded. Late inning heroics for the Mets yesterday with 5 in the 8th. And tonight the Dodgers rally in the 9th.
It's surprising. I mean, here's a guy that does not hit a lot of home runs. Great bat speed to get to that pitch. 93 miles per hour. You look at Roger McDowell. You saw him yesterday.
Steve Sachs now with runners at 1st and 2nd and 1 out of the 9th inning. Strike, 0-1.
And there's usually very little deception with Randy Myers. He comes right at you, throws somewhere around 93, 95 miles per hour. Even though it did not appear yesterday, of course it was so cold, that he had very good rhythm. Came in, went 3-0, came back and walked in the eventual go-ahead run.
In the air to right field, very routine for Strawberry. The runners will hold, 2 down. So Griffin remains at 2nd. Woodson is at 1st. And Mickey Hatcher comes to the plate. He is 0 for 3 tonight and 2 for 10 in the playoffs. when the Mets come up in the bottom of the 9th inning, Backman, who was inserted into the game in Tuffle's spot, is due to lead off, and then Elster and Sasser to follow.
You can see that graphic right there. Not only that, he's the leading Dodger hitter. He uses all the field. I mean, he can hit it over the first base bag or pull it.
And he will make contact.
Yes. What, 8 strikeouts and a little less than 200 at bats?
He doesn't strike out a lot. He doesn't walk a lot. He puts the ball in play. You talk about a battler. That's Mickey Hatcher.
And you also see dejected Dwight Gooden.
2-0.
A little bit up on the bat gives you a little bit better bat control. In this situation off a fastball pitcher, he is just looking to hit the ball hard up the middle. His home runs come on hanging breaking balls where you speed up his bat. Otherwise, he's just very content making contact. Put the ball in play and see if something good happens.
Nothing good happens here. He pops it up. Good for the Mets, though, as Hernandez is there to make the catch. So the Dodgers get 2 on the homer by Scioscia after 8.5, a 4-4 tie. Well, it's really been a fascinating series, and every game has been a very interesting game. And, of course, all of the sidebars, all of the things we've had to talk about. And this is turning out to be a series to remember.
One of the sidebars, that's right, War and Remembrance. What better, huh?
Exactly.
To be promoing.
I mean, a devastated Dwight Gooden. I think the farthest thing from his mind was to throw a home run in that situation. But you hit it on the head when you said the walk sets up that whole inning.
And Alejandro Pena comes out of the bullpen to keep the Mets in check, or try to, in the bottom of the 9th inning. Backman, Elster, and Sasser, the 7, 8, and 9 hitters. Tracy Woodson stays in the game. He'll bat in the number 9 spot since he pinch hit for Horton. And Hatcher comes out, and so Pena hits in the number 2 spot. And again, no Jay Howell, suspended for 3 days. And so it's Pena out of the pen here to face Backman.
And Pena obviously remembering yesterday when Backman tied it up with a double.
Well, it seems that Alejandro has not had great command of anything but his fastball. And even that has been a little bit all over the place. Came in to get the final out to Gary Carter in game 2. But yesterday couldn't get his forkball over, could not get his curveball over, and had trouble. Had to throw the fastball, and I'll tell you, when you get behind hitters, even a Wally Backman, he looks out there, they're playing to left center, the wind was blowing to right field, he tried to pull the ball and did.
One and go.
And right here he is, talk about a guy that is trying to take. Now he's not, I would assume he's going to try to work Pena. Pena just came out, first hitter. Wally would like to get on, and he knows that if he can do it with a walk, it'll help the Mets.
1-1.
Conversely, if he gets a good pitch to swing at it, 1-0 pitch, he can look fastball, have a good swing, which he did.
Jim, you talk often about how a breaking ball or an off-speed pitch speeds up the bat. Another thing that speeds up the bat is the fact that a pitcher can't get the one pitch over, and that's the fastball.
I think that's what Scioscia did. Scioscia went up there looking for a fastball.
Yep.
And as you said, Gooden walked the previous hitter. He's just trying to throw a strike. Bad combination, unless you're a Dodger fan.
1-2. By the way, just a footnote to the Howell suspension. Some of you may wonder, can you add a player? No, you can't. He's gone. No addition. Dodgers are down to an 8-man pitching staff. Two and two.
I think the bottom line is that Bart Giamatti will maybe think this through a little bit more and see that not only is this very severe, but that it really penalizes the team because a relief pitcher is used on an everyday basis. Now, if you give a starting pitcher a 10-day suspension during the season, that's maybe maximum of 2 starts.
Or even a 3-day suspension during a playoff. That might be the days between starts.
Just missing, and Pena almost jumping out of his skin. 3-2.
Well, look what Dutch Renner does afterwards. Now he'll jump up, I don't know if Dutch gives him the sign it's just up. I mean, umpires don't like to get shown up like that. It makes your job a little more difficult whether you're a catcher or a pitcher.
And there's Scioscia stepping out in front of the plate just to help Pena take that extra moment to get back together here. Big pitch.
I think umpires are a little more lenient and understanding in playoff situations. However, emotion's very, very high.
Backman breaks his bat, a little looper, and a great catch made by Hamilton, who backed up on the ball to make the catch going away. Big, big out. One down. Little broken bat looper back of third.
I'll tell you, this play probably wouldn't have been made if the count hadn't have been 3-2, because Hamilton backed up when Backman got 2 strikes on him, and therefore didn't worry about the bunt, and that enabled him to make a good play like that. Nice play by Hamilton.
Yeah, definitely over his head, because if you look at the cut of the infield grass, that's where he's playing. Maybe 2 steps up on it to take the bunt away. I mean, that's one of the variables you can control with a hitter like Backman.
Now Howard Johnson will come up to pinch hit for Kevin Elster. Johnson was not in the original lineup tonight because he's a weak right-handed batter. He is, as you see, 0 for 11 in this series and 0 for 19 in his 8 postseason games.
In fact, last year is about the only decent year he's ever had with a right-handed, on the right-handed side, where he hit 36 home runs, 21 left-handed, and 15 right-handed. So, but this is a good situation for Howard. They've been getting him out with breaking balls the entire series, and Pena has not really gotten his breaking ball over.
0 for 19 in postseason play.
0-1.
That is the worst offer for any active player. Tom Brookins of the Detroit Tigers is 0 for 18 in postseason play.
Well, Howard's pretty much of a one-way hitter. He's going to go up there trying to get a ball to pull, which makes you susceptible to the breaking ball and the fastball away.
Fastball away here. Too far away, 1-1.
I mean, really, it becomes like of a game. Even if he knows the fastball is coming, you want to make it good enough where if he tries to pull it, he can't get the solid part of the bat on. He's going to hit it on the end.
One and 2. Orel Hershiser, who pitched in games 1 and 3. And he's ready to go if we go to a 7th, and that would be Wednesday. He'd pitch against Ron Darling. Tomorrow, Sid Fernandez, the lefty for the Mets, probably Tim Belcher for the Dodgers. If there's a 6th game, the probables would be David Cone, and we're guessing Tim Leary for LA. Breaking pitch, and it's lined right into the glove of Steve Sachs. So 2 down here in the 9th inning. The Mets, without a hit since the 6th inning when Carter tripled,
now batting in the
will send Mike Scioscia to the plate.
The catcher, Mike Scioscia.
Scioscia, one of 3 catchers on the Mets' 24-man roster. Back of Carter, they have Scioscia and also Barry Lyons. So Mackey stands in. Came to the Mets just prior to the start of the regular season in a deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates, who had obtained him from the Giants. And he hits it in the air to center field. Shelby is there, and we'll go to extra innings. The last 10 Mets have gone down in order. We go to the 10th in a 4-4 tie in Game 4. Shea Stadium in New York. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver. A 4-4 tie in the 4th game of the National League Championship Series. On to the 10th inning. Mets leading in the series 2-1. And for the Mets, Howard Johnson, who pinch hit for Kevin Elster, stays in the game at shortstop, hitting in the number 8 spot. Randy Myers on the mound for New York in the top of the 10th inning. It's Gibson, Marshall, and Shelby. Gibson 0 for 4 tonight and 1 for 15 now in the 4 games. Lefty-righty comparison, similar figures in terms of average and home runs. Naturally, you bat a lot more against righties than lefties.
Actually, a higher ratio against left-handed pitching than right-handers. So Gibson, a tough out.
Well, he said what he liked about hitting in Los Angeles, where you play obviously 80 to 81 games, depending on how you get rained out or not, and they did have 3 rainouts this year, is he can hit the ball straight away there. You go back to Tiger Stadium, it's 440 feet to center field. So you have a tendency to walk into that ballpark and say, you look at the 320-foot right field and the overhang, and you want to jerk the ball. You can hit the ball straight away and still hit for power.
Half swing bouncer to third. He tried to check his swing, and he grounds out on a pretty close play as Jeffries throws to Hernandez to get him by a half step. Gibson out number 1 here in the 10th inning. Another look.
He could just flat out run the baseball sometimes. He doesn't do it here, but he makes a routine play pretty close. The longer the series goes, it looks like he appears to be running very well. I think that the fact that he is 1 for 16 now is that they pitched him pretty tough, and he's had some tough pitches to hit.
Mike Marshall. 0-1. Facing Gooden, Marshall 0 for 3 plus a walk tonight, and Gooden struck him out twice.
Like he's pitching in your living room with that shot.
0-2. Marshall a little over anxious. Mike trying to win it with 1 swing. He's the kind of guy that can do it, obviously.
And that's why the Met outfield is deep. You're trying to guard against a double here. The Dodgers in game 1 got burned doing that when John Shelby was playing too deep. And Strawberry got a double to drive in the first run in that 3-run ninth last Tuesday night. But for the most part, playing the percentages, you play straight away and deep. When a guy like Marshall comes up in late innings or an extra inning ball game, tie game, trying to prevent the double.
1 out, bases empty, top of the 10th, the 4-4 tie. 0-2 the count. Hit high in the air to center field, deep. Wilson backs up, has a play on the track to a chorus of Mookies, makes the catch. .400-foot out.
Well, that's also what we call, as you see, a hopeful Tommy Lasorda, warning track power. Well, Marshall has better than warning track power, but it's, it's a game. Myers is going to say, here, hit my best stuff high and away. I don't think you could pull it. Marshall did and hit it to the biggest part of the ballpark. If he pulls that ball's a little bit farther in, it's a home run.
Russell and Lasorda were on a coffee break as that ball left the bat. Shelby stands in. 0-1. Marshall, the second out of the inning. 2 out, bases empty. One and one.
Mickey Hatcher in the Dodger dugout has not sat down. As you see him pacing there in the background, he hadn't sat down for 3 innings. Taken out for defense by Tracy Woodson in the 9th.
Good fastball. Shelby, a switch hitter as a right-handed batter this year. He hit .238 and hit 2 of his 10 homers right-handed. There's Hatcher.
Some guys grab Pine, and other guys are pacers. He looks like a lion.
There's a high fly ball to left field. McReynolds is there, and Myers sets the Dodgers down 1-2-3 at the end of 9.5. A 4-4 tie. Back after this from your local station. This tied it in the 9th inning. Mike Scioscia facing Dwight Gooden with a man at first and nobody out. 4-4. That was in the 9th. And now we're in the bottom of the 10th. With Alejandro Pena on the mound for the Dodgers.
That home run made everybody in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania happy, I'll tell you that. Mike, a big football star at Springfield High right outside Philadelphia.
So the Dodgers get even, and that's where we stand in the bottom of the 10th inning with Mookie Wilson starting things off. Fastball high, ball one. Wilson, Jeffries, and Hernandez.
You put up an interesting point last inning where you said trying to end it with one swing. Now that's fine for home run hitters, but guys like Mookie and those type of guys, out of character, makes it easier to get them out. Again, go back, I don't want to sound redundant, but Pena, if you're a hitter, and they've seen Pena 3 times in 4 ball games, he has not gotten a breaking ball over yet.
And in the Dodger bullpen, Jesse Orosco is throwing. 3-0 the count.
Just the fact that Pena is pitching at all is really a story in itself. Led the National League in ERA in 1984. Had a shoulder operation by Dr. Joe. Thought he'd never pitch again. And he throws 90 plus.
Ball 4. So Wilson is on. Jeffries comes up. In all likelihood, to lay one down and try to advance him, though we'll see, because if you open up first base with Orosco in the bullpen, obviously Lasorda looking ahead to Hernandez and Strawberry in particular, who follow Jeffries. The Mets, this is an interesting situation here, Tim, obviously in the sense that if Jeffries is successful in sacrificing, you open up first base, that immediately takes the bat out of Hernandez's hands. Obviously, they're going to walk him, and then you got to get Strawberry.
So you're going to bring Orosco in, but the one thing Tommy Lasorda is now, he needs distance and length out of his bullpen. He can't do the things with his bullpen that he normally could do. He can't bring Orosco in just to pitch to one batter.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, he'll run out of pitchers.
Again, the suspension of Howell figuring very prominently in the game right now. Extremely prominently. They've already used Holton and Horton and Pena. They've got Orosco throwing. There is no other pure reliever. And Jeffries up there to bunt, bunts foul.
You know, it looks like Tim Leary, the right-hander out there.
It is, but again, keep in mind here, Leary is not a relief pitcher. But with the shortened staff, the right-hander Leary, and that is Tim throwing in the bullpen. But there is a man who made 1 relief appearance all season and started 34 games. May 3rd was Leary's only relief outing.
Of course, Tommy does have to manage for tonight, so
that's right.
You got to have a real short-term memory here. I mean, you got to do what you have to do to win tonight. Then you'll worry about tomorrow when it comes.
Throw the staff together instead of Leary on Tuesday night. Have that 3-3-3. Maybe even start John Tudor, or maybe Orel Hershiser. Who knows?
Angle from that shot. If you make a low throw and the guy comes off the bag, a lot easier to pick somebody off. I mean, a lot of times you can't slip right off the top of that bag.
Jeffries bunts in the air. Scioscia makes the catch, and Wilson retreats to first. Mike thought for the moment about letting the ball drop.
Reminds me of game 1. When you go back to game 1, Mets came up with 3 in the 9th, but the Dodgers would have been in a much better position if they had executed early. And here, look at the bat is not out in front of the plate. He gets it out there, but the angle, instead of having the angle with the handle down, as you look at Scioscia just catching the pop-up, he dropped the bat. In other words, it's kind of hard to explain without seeing it, but there's a certain angle you should have, and he did not have that.
You get a slight edge by getting Wilson off of first base and putting Jeffries down there, even though Greg runs well, but not as well as Mookie. So that's the reason I think Mike's thinking was right. He just didn't want to take a chance, because to do that, he would have to make a long throw to second base. He took the sure out.
And he took a look, as you saw. He looked at first, then made the catch. Here's Hernandez. And this tells you all you need to know right now about Lasorda and the faith he has in certain members of his bullpen, because you don't have a Orozco coming in here. You've got the lefty, but Jesse has been very inconsistent. It's been tough for Lasorda to rely on Orozco to get the key and important outs, and obviously you're in a vital situation. Orozco continues to warm up, but Lasorda, at least for the moment, figures he's got a better chance going with Pena than he does with Jesse.
And that's hard to figure out. I mean, you hit it exactly right, because a left-hander, less chance of stealing, yet he remains in the bullpen.
If he weren't thinking that way, why isn't Orozco in the game?
Yep.
What's he doing up?
This is all you need to know right now.
Yeah.
Wilson at first, and Pena fires over there. It's funny, you know, Orozco's had a great career. He's been in a lot of key situations. It almost reminds me of the way Kansas City and the late Dick Hauser had to manage that '85 World Series when Quisenberry had lost it down the stretch, and Dick just couldn't go to Quisenberry in those vital situations. Strike, 0-1. And everybody in the world was second-guessing Hauser, if you remember back to especially the Charlie Lee brand game. But here's a case right now of Lasorda saying, I got to go with my better relief pitcher, period. Forget lefty-lefty or righty-lefty or what have you.
Saw Davy Johnson in your picture. He was yelling at Dutch Renner to make Pena stop. He was going to his belt like that.
Away in the count, 1-1.
All sorts of options now. The hit and run of the straight steal. What do you do? He wants to sign. He went across his chest. He wants to sign again. If you're Scioscia, you may pitch out here, but you do take a chance of falling behind in the count. Hernandez wanted the sign repeated. That's why he went across his chest.
Winning run at first, 1 out. Two and 1. Now I would guess he'd be going here.
2-1's the most ideal hit and run count. Got all the elements there.
Because if you pitch out, obviously he's running, you got a good chance of throwing him out. But if you pitch out and he's not running, Hernandez with a great eye is probably going to walk.
Time call by Hernandez.
Pena's been throwing a lot of fastballs up in the strike zone. So it may be tough to get on top of the ball.
Wilson bluffs and Hernandez fouls it away. So he bluffs going and it's 2-2.
And it was a high fastball to Hernandez.
Four tie, bottom of the 10th inning.
I wonder if Tommy Lasorda and Mike Scioscia pitching out on that 1-0-2-0 count to Elster back in the 6th inning may have had Davy Johnson thinking that he may have pitched out there on the 2-1 count. I don't know.
Two and 2.
Also, Mookie a little more timid on the bases because he was picked off by John Tudor back in the 3rd inning.
He bluffs. Hernandez strikes out. And Keith can't believe he swung at that pitch. So 2 down, and Strawberry comes to the plate. High fastball again.
Well, we talked all night about how hard it is to get on top of it. You see it well. Good movement. Pena at 90 plus. Just throws it. I mean, flat throws it right by him.
So 2 down. Strawberry at the plate. And 0 in his career against Pena. Winning run at first, 2 out, bottom of the 10th inning.
Dodger outfield again, deep now, especially for Strawberry, and because there are 2 outs with Wilson at first. They'll give up the single, but not the double.
Of course, you know, going back to that first game when you made that great call about how deep they are, their philosophy is, even with a tying run on second, they don't want to get beat, so they play overly deep. They did, and as it turned out, it cost them a ball game.
Different situation here because Wilson's at first, of course.
But again, going back to that situation where you have the tying run at second, the winning run at first, they value the winning run more than they do the tying run, so they still play.
Yeah, when an out will win the ball game.
Right. I know. Well, that's just telling you what they said. They backfired. Game 1.
2 down. Wilson, who walked leading off in the inning, but then Jeffries couldn't advance him. Bunting in the air. Hernandez has struck out. And Pena works on Strawberry. Got the corner, inside corner for a strike. 0-1.
Well, if you send Wilson here, they're going to walk Strawberry in all probability. But Kevin McReynolds is on deck, would be the next hitter. Would you rather have McReynolds hitting with Wilson at second or Strawberry hitting with Wilson at first?
Yeah, Bob Johnson, I can't take the bat out of Strawberry's hand.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's provided Mookie makes it to second base when he tries also. So the odds are Wilson will stay unless we get deeper in the count.
One and one. One and two. 2 gems for strikes.
Oh, if he throws another one there, I think Darryl will look at a 3rd strike. But again, Timmy said earlier, that is his weakness. He has a long swing, hardest pitch for him to get around to. He'd have to start the bat way before this. And again, the ball tails back, which is why he, in his middle, you see him look at the inside corner. He thinks that ball's a ball, but the movement of the fastball coming back. Now, of course, if you throw it not quite as far inside and it comes back in the middle of the plate, then you're in trouble. 2 perfect pitches.
Wilson goes, pitches high. Scioscia's throw, nails him. Griffin comes over to make the play, and we go to the 11th inning. XJ still tied 4-4.
I'll tell you, one of the disadvantages of that head-first slide is it allows infielders to step in front of the bag, thereby warding you off from the bag. And that's what Sharperson did right here. Or Griffin, I beg your pardon. Alfredo Griffin stepping right in front of the bag. Of course, you've got to know whether a runner is going to go head first. If you turn that around and if Wilson slides in spikes first, think of what would have happened to Griffin.
To his leg.
Yeah, right. Instead of a hand there, it would have been a spike.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Well, really what it does, it makes you feel the ball in front of the bag, and then you have to reach back. A little bit easier, gives you a little more area to slide to.
We saw Jeff Hamilton have his foot in front of the bag when Keith Hernandez swam to third yesterday.
Well, the vagaries of this game, Rick Dempsey comes up to pinch hit for the big hero, Mike Scioscia, and it's real simple because the lefty Myers is now on the mound. So Dempsey takes high, ball 1, 1-0. Dempsey bats for Scioscia. to start the 11th inning. So Mike is done for the night. And Dempsey figures to catch tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, almost today, it's 11:49 in the East. And the game begins at noon with lefty Sid Fernandez on the mound for New York. So Dempsey does figure to be in the lineup in Game 5.
9 o'clock West Coast time, so you can do breakfast with us tomorrow morning.
That's right. Do brunch, baby.
And they will out there.
Absolutely. Do brunch and lunch. Game 5, Game 6, if there is one, LA Tuesday, 8 Eastern. Dempsey takes outside, ball 2, 2-1. Dempsey to be followed by Hamilton and Griffin. Dodgers at the 6, 7, and 8 spots in their order. Now in the bottom of the 11th now for the Mets, Strawberry will lead off since he was stranded at the plate when Wilson was thrown out stealing. Then McReynolds and then Myers spot. Three and 1 to count on Dempsey.
Rick with 7 home runs this year. You go back to his last couple of years at Baltimore. Last year he played with Cleveland, but you go back to what, 86 and 85. He had 12 and 13 home runs. This is why, no doubt, he was most valuable player in the '83 World Series.
And he's on here, so Dempsey draws the walk, leading off in the 11th inning. And Jeff Hamilton will come to the plate. And Lasorda wants a word with Hamilton. With a leadoff man on and nobody out. In fact, as he calls Jeff back to the dugout and the Mets congregate on the mound, McDowell gets up in the bullpen again to begin throwing, and he's going to opt for Sharperson to come up and bunt for Hamilton.
Well, you got some problems, and the main problem is Rick Dempsey at first base. He is Scioscia's replacement. He obviously doesn't run well. Hernandez is one of the best at fielding the bunt.
I'll agree with half of that. Dempsey does run well for a catcher.
Your attention, please.
Which I know.
Now he does?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think this is one of the reasons he's been able to catch in this 20th year, 15 full years in the major leagues. Rick was always a good runner. I'm not talking blazing speed, or a guy that can steal bases, but he does a lot of running, runs with pitchers when he is not catching. And of course, that's a very important part for an extra man. I've seen a lot of guys try to score from first base, talking about extra men.
Oh, yeah.
And they lose it coming around third because they're not in shape.
Meanwhile, Sharperson, who got a pass into the playoffs, he was not going to be on the roster, but when Dave Anderson re-injured his back, he was added. And he's up there to bunt, and he bunts in the air foul, back out of play, and the count 0-1. Now Sharperson, who spent a good part of the season in the minor leagues, had 2 sacrifices this year. Hamilton, for whom Sharperson is hitting in a lot more at-bats, obviously, since Jeff wound up playing every day for a good part of the year, only had 2 sacrifices all year.
So Mike really a pinch bunter right now until he gets 2 strikes on him.
Makes no secret of it, lays it down. Myers fields, goes to second. Got him. And so it would take a perfect bunt. That was a pretty good bunt, but Myers fields it very, very well and throws out Dempsey.
It looked like Myers may have hurt his lower back when he made this throw.
Now, of course, right here, Keith Hernandez is telling him where to throw the ball. Excellent throw, good velocity on it.
Was.
If you throw a sinker, he might have beat that throw.
Oh, yeah.
But he lets it go.
I'll tell you, Jim, you're exactly right, because Dempsey did get down there. That ball was bunted fairly firmly, and Dempsey makes it a rather close play at second base.
But he's out. They keep the go-ahead run out of scoring position, and Griffin swinging away and fouling it off, and the count is 0-1. Alfredo breaking his hand on a Dwight Gooden fastball in May, and it really affects him as a right-handed batter in particular. As a right-handed batter, he had 167 this year.
That's his top hand from the right side. So while he's hit pretty well left-handed, this does affect him.
And Jeffrey's on the line at third base with Myers throwing to Alfredo Griffin. The ball being hit into the position is the probability is much greater than a ball being hit down the line. Double play gets you out of the inning.
And Griffin bunting for a hit. It's a beauty. Jeffrey's throw nails him. What a play. Alfredo Griffin not bunting to sacrifice. A good bunt here. But Jeffrey's charging in and throws him out at first. And down to second goes Sharperson.
Well, such an important part of playing third base. You may start back, but if you come in it with great anticipation, and you can see Greg Jeffries does that, got a nice strong throw. And watch Hernandez come off the bag because he knows the runner may attempt to go to third base.
And now Davy Johnson's going to go to the mound. You've got Tracy Woodson coming up. You're going to have a double switch. You're going to have McDowell coming in from the bullpen and Dykstra going into the game in center field. So McDowell will hit in the number 1 spot. And Dykstra goes into the number 6 spot, meaning that Lenny will come up third in the bottom of the 11th inning. So here comes McDowell now with 2 out in the 11th inning to face Tracy Woodson with a go-ahead run at second base and 2 down.
Now think of what that bunt did. Now even though Griffin wanted to bunt for a base hit, he gets Myers out of the game because if Sharperson were at first base and Woodson were hitting, Myers most certainly would have, there's no threat of the long ball or little threat of the long ball. So you keep Myers in the game for 1 out longer. You don't have to make a double switch. So that bunt puts Dykstra in the game. It really makes Davy Johnson use 2 players. With a 1 out bunt, that doesn't work.
So McDowell coming in to pitch with 2 out, go-ahead run at second base. In the 11th inning, a 4-4 tie. The inside pitch on Roger now from Mike Schmidt.
Roger McDowell's best asset is his overhand sinker, and he very seldom throws it high in the strike zone. He throws mostly balls. I know when I'm hitting against Roger, I always seem to chase that ball down into the dirt and hit a ground ball. That's when he's most effective, when he keeps that ball down and gets the hitter to swing at a ball. He very seldom will throw breaking balls, an occasional slider to right-handed hitters and hardly ever a breaking ball to a left-handed hitter. Another good asset that he has is his ability to field. He might be the best fielding relief pitcher in the game today. He holds runners on well, and he loves to pitch. He's not afraid of any situation.
So at 3 minutes to midnight, it's McDowell in a 4-4 tie with 2 out, and Tracy Woodson coming up.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Now pitching for the Mets and batting first, number 42.
McDowell very effective yesterday, but he did make that error that eventually caused the go-ahead run. They had to bring in Myers. Myers walked Sharperson in the 8th inning, and the Mets scored the 5 in the bottom of the 8th.
It's also fair to tell why he made the error because of the playing conditions.
Sure, certainly.
Made a nice grab off the mound, went to throw, fell down, and used bad judgment, try to throw from one knee.
Yesterday's game more akin to skating than baseball.
Forever will be embedded that image of Keith Hernandez trying to get to third. That was like, it's like the dream we've all had where, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're still dreaming, you're trying to get someplace and you just can't get there.
Somebody's got their foot in the way.
Yeah. 2 out. Sharperson at second. And the count 1-0.
By the way, we haven't seen a scoring. I don't assume that that was a sacrifice for Alfredo Griffin.
I wouldn't think so.
It was a sacrifice when clearly he was bunting for a base hit. We understand.
Little chopper foul and the count 1-1. Little Christmas gift came early.
Yeah.
Well, it did do what a sacrifice course, does, which is move a runner into scoring position. I assume most of the time the scorer takes into consideration.
Yeah, you got one out to get him in, though, instead of two.
Yeah. The intent was to bunt for a hit, though.
Yeah.
And a sacrifice should be based on intent.
But as we said in the process, Myers leaves and Mookie Wilson leaves the game. Davey Johnson, because Woodson's here, and Woodson had singled against Myers his last time up. So Johnson going to the percentages and the right-handed sinker ball.
Lasorda has one left-handed pinch hitter on the bench, Franklin Stubbs, but opts not to use him here with first base open. And there's a chopper back of second. Backing up is Backman to throw in the dirt and dug out by Hernandez. Otherwise, Sharperson would have scored. He was 30 feet from home plate. So Keith Hernandez keeps the game locked at 4. Digging out the low throw.
And there's that in-between hop again. And a very difficult play and a great play by Keith Hernandez.
And so in the middle of the 11th, a 4-4 tie.
Scott Blue, please report to the press gate. Dr. Scott Blue.
We are looking at 10-time Gold Glove winner Keith Hernandez. Now, does he have possession of this ball? We saw a play yesterday where Mickey Hatcher did it. Boy, it doesn't look to me that he has possession. He's reaching for it. Well, it's hard to tell from that angle.
Yeah, when he's reaching back with that left hand, but it may be embedded in the heel of the first baseman's mitt.
Yeah, if you've ever
That's what Tommy Lasorda is saying the same thing.
Of course, the call went against Tommy, so you know he's going to react and maybe even overreact. But
tell you, it was close.
Bottom of the 11th, here's Strawberry taking outside, ball 1.
I don't know if you ever played first base, but I'd occasionally put on one of their gloves. You can hide a baseball in a first baseman's glove. That's how big it is.
Two and 0 on Strawberry. Mike Sharperson stays in the game at third. 2 and 0 on Strawberry.
Well, the problem here that presents itself to Alejandro Pena is that, yes, Darryl can hit home runs. If you walk him, he can steal bases. I mean, anytime you've ever seen the highlights on the late news, you can see what Strawberry's capabilities are.
2 and 1. How about the 4th inning tonight?
Yes.
Tim Leary again in the pen. Popped up. Sacks on the dirt. 1 out. So Strawberry gone, 1 away in the 11th inning, and Kevin McReynolds comes to the plate. He's homered and doubled tonight.
Now batting, left fielder.
Strawberry, meanwhile, is 1 for 5. The only time he hit the ball out of the infield, he hit it halfway to Bethpage.
I'll tell you, if the Dodgers can get the Mets out in this inning, Tommy Lasorda's thinking with Tim Leary may be as a starting pitcher, regardless of how long this game goes. Because Leary's a good hitter, an excellent hitter, as a matter of fact.
Won a game, a big game down the stretch with a pinch hit.
Exactly, with the pinch hit. So he may be playing it with the shortage of relievers that Leary's just going to start another game and take on the attitude of a starting pitcher if it goes to the 13th.
Pena, if he gets the Mets out in the 11th, comes up second in the 12th. High, ball 2, 2 and 0. And meanwhile, Jay Howell can only sit in a hotel room in Manhattan and watch it.
Howling at the moon.
And it's midnight, so that's appropriate. Foul back and the count 2 and 1. In fact, it's 12:04, and in 12 hours, we will be back with you. When we start tomorrow's game, the clock will look just the way it looks right now. Fouled away and the count 2 and 2.
Well, that's what a live arm and a live fastball will allow you to do. He's gotten behind Strawberry. He got him to pop up. Now he threw 2 pitches right in Kevin McReynolds' power. And all he could do is get the bottom half of the ball because of that little extra jump that a good fastball has, especially if it's overhand and up in the strike zone.
2-2 to McReynolds. Breaking his foul back. Len Dykstra to follow.
Well, you know, I think the moral of the story is you don't mess with a man that used to be the president of Yale University, where they have an honor code. He does not like cheating. Hands out harsh penalties.
3-2 the count.
Pedro Guerrero in the bat throwing incident with David Cohn got 4 days during the regular season. Jay Howell for cheating gets, or a, not as you call it very well, Jim, a misdemeanor, gets 3 days during the playoffs.
Really 4.
3-2 pitch is popped up. You're counting the ejection yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you get your best reliever in there. He may have walked McReynolds, but the guy that Tommy wanted in there didn't get a chance to pitch to a batter.
Certainly not.
So it turns out to be 4 games, or 4 days. It could possibly be 4 games if it goes 7 games.
3 balls and 2 strikes on McReynolds. And Kevin is on, so the winning run is at first base with 1 out, and Len Dykstra, who won a playoff game in 1986 with a dramatic 9th inning home run, comes up here with a winning run at first base and 1 out. He won game 3 in '86. Well, the thing about that, the Howell suspension, and you talk about the mathematics of it. Last year, Kevin Gross gets suspended 10 days for a like violation, and even worse, in fact, sandpaper as opposed to pine tar. 10 days is the equivalent of 6% of the season. 3 days in a playoff is the equivalent of 43% of the mini season, so to speak.
And who would have thought that it would have come into play the first game during which he is serving his suspension?
Has it ever? Dykstra wraps it foul by Bill Robinson in the first base coaching box.
And that's what this little game is. Lenny, you know, he sees Ed Woodson down at first base holding on to McReynolds. McReynolds 21 steals out of 21 attempts this year, but you have that first base side open. You can see that huge hole there. Pinion liked to throw the fastball away and hope that if he does try to pull it, he hits a ground ball to second base. Dykstra's trying to get a pitch he could drive into right field. One of the first years I really realized as a pitcher, just sitting on the bench watching Al Bunbury hit .337 as a rookie and Richie Coggins hit .319 by just hitting high hoppers in that hole into right field.
The 0-1 pitch is taken low on the count 1-1.
Well, it's nice to have a second hitter that's left-handed or a right-handed hitter that can hit the ball the other way if you take advantage of that hole.
Pena has not given up a hit in 2 1/3 innings. Walked 2, struck out 2. Foul back. 1-2.
Kevin McReynolds tentative but sure when he runs. 21 stolen bases this year. He was caught no times, 0. That's a National League record. Actually a Major League record. Jimmy Sexton of the Oakland Athletics had 16, went 16-0 back in 1982.
McReynolds has not been thrown out on a steal attempt in a year and a half. So you think of him, if you don't follow the game that closely, as you hear the name, you say, oh yeah, he hits some home runs and drives in a lot of runs. He also runs very, very well. And he's the winning run at first base right now. 1-2 the count.
Well, what makes Pena effective if you're a catcher is that he, number one, gets rid of the ball fairly quickly, even though he's 6'4", but he's throwing mostly fastballs, so the ball is going to get to home plate a little bit quicker. It's usually up in the strike zone. Gives you a chance to come out there and make a stronger throw if you're a catcher.
In the air to left field to Gibson. 2 gone. McReynolds at first, the winning run with 2 out now, and Wally Backman, one of yesterday's big heroes, comes to the plate.
Excellent pitching.
Wally Backman.
You know, and Tim, I know this as a former catcher, but if you get a guy on first and you have a left-handed hitter up there and you can make him hit the ball to left field, even if he gets a base hit, the chances of having that first and third situation with less than 2 outs, which will score a run, a fly ball will score a run. You could almost dictate, and Pena did, where Dykstra's going to hit the ball.
Backman with 2 out. McReynolds at first. If there's a 12th inning, the Dodgers have Sachs, the leadoff hitter, then Pena, who is in the 2 spot, followed by Gibson.
Pena holding McReynolds close. The Dodgers have always been schooled well at holding runners close because that was the nature of their offense in the 60s. They knew how important speed was when Maury Wills, Junior Gilliam, and that group with the strong pitching.
Got the inside corner, 0-1.
They got away from that foundation in the late 70s when they had more power, Reggie Smith, Ron Say, Steve Garvey. But now they're back to pitching and speed and defense.
And added to that trio was Dusty Baker. The year they had 4 hit 30 or more home runs.
1977, I believe. 77 or 8.
Four tie, 2 out, bottom of the 11th. Mets trying to go up 3 games to 1. And the winning run at first, Kevin McReynolds.
Alan Roth points out quite properly, Willie Davis also could fly. Could go from first to third, I think, quicker than anybody I had ever seen.
Pitch out. Nothing happening. 1-1. Backman fouls it off, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. The crowd is kind of half wrung out at this point. It's pretty quiet for a situation in which you got a chance to win the ball game. But they've ridden such a seesaw tonight that you have these stretches of quiet.
It's an emotional roller coaster, whether you're a player or a fan or a manager or whatever.
Nice way to start your work week.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you really think with Gooden out there only throwing 10 home runs in a year that you got a lock somewhat on a game if there is such a thing.
There goes McReynolds. The pitch is outside. Dempsey's throw too late, and so the winning run is at second base. And now the count is 2-2 on Backman.
That is a typical Kevin McReynolds calculating stolen base. He waits and waits and waits and waits until he gets the best jump possible and runs.
How does he do it? He times the pitcher.
Yes, sir.
So now the crowd, with the winning run in scoring position, very much alive. In fact, on their feet with a count 2-2 on Backman. And he fouls it away. Still 2-2.
And the Dodger outfield will never be accused of playing too deep at this point.
No.
They have moved in. They are playing where they, I mean, you don't know if they're playing where they should be because Backman can hit the ball anywhere, but one thing, you do not want the ball hit in front of you here.
Now Perinoski and Dempsey will discuss pitch selection here with Pena.
He mentioned something about a breaking ball. Those were his first words. Either do you want to throw a breaking ball, or don't be afraid to throw a breaking ball, or don't throw a breaking ball. But something about the breaking ball, if you could read his lips.
Well, he does have first base open, so that is an option. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't care about, I mean, the hitter that you only get out is Backman. If you don't get him out, then you get out Howard Johnson. The only thing, obviously, that's important is that Kevin McReynolds does not score. So you make your pitch. If you don't, you pitch to the next guy. Even if you have to go 2 more hitters.
Right.
2-2. 2 out. 11th inning in a 4-4 tie. Breaking pitch. Oh, where was that? Pena wants to know. So does Dempsey.
It was obviously Perinoski saying throw a breaking ball.
Well, Backman would prefer to hit the fastball. And this ball comes around the plate. Just out of what the umpire would tell you.
All right.
Well, you know, I mean, you
No, I know.
out.
Certainly. I was being facetious.
You know, it's really not where you catch the ball. It's where the ball goes across home plate.
I wonder if this will be another breaking ball.
It should be.
High on another breaking pitch for ball. Now Perinoski and Dempsey will discuss pitch selection here with Pena.
He mentioned something about a breaking ball. Those were his first words. Either do you want to throw a breaking ball, or don't be afraid to throw a breaking ball, or don't throw a breaking ball. But something about the breaking ball, if you could read his lips.
Well, he does have first base open, so that is an option. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't care about, I mean, the hitter that you only get out is Backman. If you don't get him out, then you get out Howard Johnson. The only thing, obviously, that's important is that Kevin McReynolds does not score. So you make your pitch. If you don't, you pitch to the next guy. Even if you have to go 2 more hitters.
Right.
2-2. 2 out. 11th inning in a 4-4 tie. Breaking pitch. Oh, where was that? Pena wants to know. So does Dempsey.
It was obviously Perinoski saying throw a breaking ball.
Well, Backman would prefer to hit the fastball. And this ball comes around the plate. Just out of what the umpire would tell you.
All right.
Well, you know, if you
No, I know. Certainly. I was being facetious.
You know, it's really not where you catch the ball. It's where the ball goes across home plate.
I wonder if this will be another breaking ball.
It should be.
High on another breaking pitch for ball 4. So Backman walks while he wanted a chance to win the game. Well, he is now his window dressing, so he's angry as he moves down to first base.
Window dressing unless there's a close play at second that could keep the inning going. Yeah.
Of course, he had a chance, and he really did contribute, because if he does not foul off those pitches, McReynolds doesn't steal second.
Right.
And it's not that just that McReynolds does not want to get thrown out and cut off that streak. Is that if you give a guy the time your delivery 4 or 5 pitches, it makes it a lot easier.
Here is Howard Johnson, who didn't start tonight. He came in as a pinch hitter in the 9th inning and in a soft liner to Sachs. 0 for 1, 0 for ever in postseason. Pena backs off the rubber as Griffin has to keep McReynolds the winning run close at second. Johnson 0 for 20 in his career postseason. That would quickly be forgotten with a base hit here. Oh, and 1. Johnson looking to win it by 3 instead of 1.
Well, that's the Howard Johnson mentality. You know, last year he had 265. This year he had 230. And if you ask Davey Johnson why, it's because he does not hit the ball the other way. Tries to pull the ball, makes himself susceptible to breaking ball, and that was clearly an overswing. He wasn't trying to make contact. He was trying to hit the ball where Strawberry hit it. Now he does have good power, though.
0 and 2.
Both balls out of the strike zone up. So if you're Pena and Dempsey, and there goes Dempsey. Dollar to a donut, this next pitch is going to be a high fastball out of the strike zone or a breaking ball in the dirt. That's the one thing you want to do as a catcher. Make sure you know where you're going. Don't be caught in between. A game situation right here. And I would imagine Dempsey told him to throw the high fastball eye high.
They call that stair stepping up the ladder.
Yes, sir.
High, a little bit higher, and then highest to hope he swings.
Away, 1-2. Funny, the other night, to show you the contrast, Howell got Johnson with all curveballs. Now tonight, Pena's trying to get him with all fastballs.
That's because he doesn't have a good curveball.
The 1-2 pitch is popped foul out of play.
And the bottom line, if you're a pitcher, is that you have to do what you do best most often. Pena would like to be able to throw Howard Johnson a curveball, but he does not have a good one. The two he threw to Backman, if he got him in the strike zone, while he may have hit them, they did not break sharp, did not get on top of him.
The 1-2 pitch, high ball 2-2.
The problem when a catcher coming out and say, just throw him another high fastball, is he threw the first two very relaxed with good rhythm, and then all of a sudden you come out and the power suggestion is, well, I'm going to throw another one, I'm going to muscle up, and the minute you muscle up, you don't throw the ball the way you should, which is in a relaxed mode.
I think he's going to get another one.
Winning run at second, 2 out. And the 2-2 pitch is popped up, back of third, foul ground, playable for Sharperson, and we go to the 12th inning. And what a job by Alejandro Pena. 3 shutout innings. On to the 12th we go in a 4-4 tie. We go to the 12th inning, the ball game at just about the 4-hour mark. 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 8 hits, and 2 errors for the Mets. And there it is, the 16-inning game, of course, Tim, you called in Houston in 1986. The Mets and the Astros, the longest in championship series history.
That was game 6, and Jesse Orozco with the win in that game, striking out Kevin Bass.
I was there for those 2 12-inning games. There were 2 of them.
The 12th starts with Sachs bouncing one to Jeffries, who throws him out. 1 pitch, and Sachs is retired in the 12th inning. And now the Dodgers send Franklin Stubbs to the plate to hit for Alejandro Pena. So Pena,
ladies and gentlemen, your
pitched brilliantly the 9th, 10th, and 11th innings
number 22,
to keep the game tied. Now to the bench. And of course, as far as the next Dodger pitcher is concerned, Leary has warmed up. Orozco had warmed up earlier. There's nobody down there right now. I would assume it's Leary who will come in the bottom of the 12th inning, because Jesse has not been up for well over a half an hour. So there is Pena. His work for the night is done, and Stubbs at the plate.
Franklin with 2 pinch hit home runs this year. Mike Davis having the other one of the 3 that they hit. Again, this is a classic confrontation. Low ball hitter, low ball pitcher.
Last home run Stubbs hit was against Rick Russell on the Saturday next to the last day of the season. And Russell, a similar pitcher to Roger McDowell.
Not quite as much velocity.
No, but the heavy sinker and everything. Here's a guy who can lift that heavy sinker.
And that home run cost Rick Russell a chance to win his 20th game. He pitched very well, but lost 2-1.
19 wins on the year. Outstanding year. Big Daddy.
1-1 on Stubbs. Gibson is on deck. Nope, just outside. 2-1. With Dutch Rennert, sometimes you never know. You see that body beginning to move and the shoulders hunching. 2-1. Two and two. When the Mets bat in the bottom of the 12th inning, Scioscia leading off. He's in the 9 spot, into the top of the order with Wilson and Jeffries.
You know, a lot of times when you miss with a pitch, you ask the umpire where it was. You know, was it high or was it outside or whatever? Which Dutch Rennert, he tells you.
He does.
And the rest of the ballpark.
Let me correct myself. I said Wilson. McDowell is hitting in the number 1 spot. Mookie out of the game, and McDowell inserted into the 1 spot. So after Scioscia, a pinch hitter for the Mets in the bottom of the 12th, and then Jeffries. And a breaking pitch got him. It fooled him, and down he goes. So out number 2. And that'll bring up Gibson.
Pardon me, Al. That's the slider that McDowell has been using more and more and more this year. And after a steady diet of sinkers, this is what a hitter looks like. He thinks that ball's going to be high or inside and gets locked. And that's what happened. Everybody was locked in but Dutch. Dutch is locked in.
So 2 down, and Gibson at the plate. For Kirk, 0 for 5 tonight, 1 for 16 in the series. Has not hit the ball out of the infield tonight. 0-1.
Another low ball hitter here too, Jim.
But again, you have to figure out what your strength is. McDowell's strength is a sinker.
Gibson hits a high drive, a towering drive to deep right center field, and that one is gone. So he hits a home run in the 12th inning after not hitting a ball out of the infield all night long. And as Tim just said, a low ball hitter against the sinker ball pitcher.
Now that's the second home run all year off Roger McDowell.
The other hit by Bo Diaz of the Cincinnati Reds. But not as big as this, baby.
And that might be the quietest home run in the history of baseball. There are about 9 people clapping. And all of them adjacent to the Dodger dugout.
Or in it.
Or in it, yeah. Marshall breaks his bat, hits a bouncer to the right side, and Backman throws him out. But here in the 12th inning, a 2-out home run by Kirk Gibson. And at the end of 11 and a half, it's the Dodgers 5, the Mets 4, and we're back right after this from your local station. The home run by Gibson to give the Dodgers the lead.
Well, another sinker, but instead of getting it away, he got it in the middle. And Kirk does the trot. For the 26th time this year, 25 during the regular season. I get the feeling he knows it's gone right at impact. This ball went a long, long way.
The reaction of Tracy Woodson and Tommy Lasorda and all of the Dodgers. And there he is, stationing himself now in left field as we go to the bottom of the 12th inning with the Dodgers on top 5-4, and Tim Leary, who relieved once this season. He was in the Dodger rotation all year. He was brilliant until the end of August, and he really faded at the end. And he's asked to get 3 outs. Mike Scioscia leading off. Lee Mazzilli comes out on deck to bat for McDowell. And then Greg Jeffries. 1-1 to count. Lasorda and the Dodgers kept contending that Leary was tired. He said, wait a second, I'm not tired. I've got a mechanical problem. He shouldn't be very tired tonight. He's pitched very little in the last week and a half.
Matter of fact, his last outing, he went 6 innings last Sunday against the Giants, the last game of the regular season.
Well, he said, I am a little tired. But I also have a mechanical problem, and that's his left shoulder. He's got to keep it tucked in.
Gets the corner here, and the count is 2-2.
He felt as an upright pitcher, if he does not close that left shoulder, it's like a hitter. Your shoulder pulls out, you don't have a chance to stay with the ball. Same thing with pitching. That opposite shoulder has to go towards the catcher.
Missing away, and it's 3-2 on Mike Scioscia.
And if Larry can retire the Mets in quick order, then he could be the starter Tuesday night. So it could help the Dodgers two ways if they win this game now.
Chopped foul outside third. We know Belcher goes tomorrow. You can take that out of pencil and put it in ink. And Fernandez for the Mets. Cone for the Mets in a 6th game if that were necessary against, we suspect, Leary. And Hershiser and Darling in a 7th. 3-2 foul away again.
I guess we ought to change that to Belcher goes today.
Right, that's right. Belcher goes in less than 12 hours. Game 5, noon Eastern tomorrow.
You know, it's pretty cut and dried here, I would think. 3-2 leadoff hitter. You don't want to walk him. You just got to throw your best fastball for the center of the plate and hope it moves.
It's hit into right field, base hit. So Scioscia starts the bottom of the 12th with a single to right, and Lee Mazzilli comes up.
It might sound like that's negative. The key is Davey Johnson talks to Lee Mazzilli. He said that's what you have to do. You know you're going to get a good pitch to hit because you don't want to be walked. Scioscia just jumps on it and hits it right in front of Mike Marshall.
I'll tell you an interesting thing about this inning. A carefully preserved Jesse Orozco is warming up in the bullpen. And he could face Hernandez and or Strawberry.
There he is. Because the Mets right now are in the #1 spot in the order, occupied by the pitcher McDowell with Mazzilli to bat for him. Then you've got Jeffries on deck, and then you get to Hernandez's spot. So Lee Mazzilli, after a brief conference with Johnson and after a look at Perlazo, without a sacrifice in over 3 years.
Wow.
Sharperson ready to charge from third. The pitch is a strike as he squares and lets it go by and doesn't like the call by Reynolds. 0-1. For the Mets, Ron Darling is running at first base for Scioscia.
And when you put a starting pitcher in as a pinch runner, you put him in gingerly. All sorts of things, especially in a sacrifice situation where he's got to run hard to second without being loose.
Mazzilli around a bunt again and pulls back in time, so they count 1-1.
We talked yesterday, Darling is a good athlete, but he may not be loose. I did a lot of pinch running early in my career, and then I had made a habit of winning 20 games, and they thought I was too valuable.
It's a good thing.
Then I got old, and I got to get in my 7th playoff as a pinch runner.
Swinging away, and the count 1-2 on Mazzilli.
Now Leary's finally in a position where we're talking about a guy last year was 3-11, this year 17-11. Great fastball, but he did not have the split finger fastball, and he went down to Tijuana, Mexico, and that's why they think he's tired. 228 innings, another 90 in spring training. Just over 300 innings this year.
1-2 pitch is hammered into center field for a base hit. Darling will stop at second. So the tying and winning runs are on. Lee Mazzilli up there to bunt, then to swing away. It's a 1-2 pitch for a base hit.
And the Dodgers are hoping now that he would have got the bunt down. Now, giving the sacrifice, obviously you can't look back like that.
Well, he's wondering why he threw him a fastball, and you see Tommy's reaction.
I know exactly what he's thinking too, and I kind of agree with him, Jim. It's a 1-2 count. You got the split finger. You just swung through the high fastball.
And a split finger fastball, I mean, it's been his best pitch. I think it's made him what he's been this year. And it's also a double play ball.
Yep.
But, you know, but the one thing I will give him credit for, he threw the ball away. He set up the first and second situation. Now, we've seen Jeffries bunt the last time he popped it up. The Mets still have to execute. And if he gets him over, you're going to walk Hernandez, and you're going to bring in, most likely, Orozco to pitch to Strawberry.
I'll tell you, Griffin went to Leary, and then he looked to the bench, and I think the Dodgers are going to play this straight up. They might normally put the rotation play on, where the third baseman and first baseman charge, the shortstop goes to third, and the second baseman goes to first, but Sharperson is not that experienced at third base. I think it's straight up. They'll play it straight up.
Jeffries to bunt in the air, foul, back out of play. Jeffries tried to bunt in the 10th inning and popped out.
You're talking about a guy 2 years minor league player of the year. I don't think he bunted very much there.
I
Not
think
when
he's
you put
showing
those
that
kind of
tonight.
numbers.
That's right.
I mean, this is the time to bunt, but can he bunt? That's, again, knowing your players.
He
What's
pushed
this?
in the 10th.
See, that's a jab stroke. You got to lay the bat out there, let the ball hit the bat. You want to deaden the ball.
Darling at second. Mazzilli the winning run at first. And the 0-1 to Jeffries up there to swing away and hits it in the air to left field. Kirk Gibson moves over toward the line and makes the catch, and the runners hold. So Jeffries, unable to deliver twice in bunting situations, flies out. Now Hernandez, and now we'll see about Lasorda. Meanwhile, the Mets with Darling at second base as the tying run. He roomed with Tim Leary when Leary was a Met a few years ago. They had an apartment at third and 33rd, otherwise known here as Toyd and Toyd. Baranowski goes to the mound with the left-hand batting Hernandez coming up, and we'll see if Ron makes the move for the bullpen. And Ron says, hey, Tommy said, I'm going to the left-hander. So here comes Orozco.
Of all people.
The drama continues. It goes on and on and on. We'll be right back. So Jesse Orozco comes in with the game on the bottom of the 12th inning. Once again, here's the inside pitch on Orozco from Mike Schmidt.
Jesse Orozco's best asset is his ability to get left-handed hitters out. Unlike when he was with the Mets, now he has Jay Howell as a counterpart in the bullpen. He doesn't have to pitch to as many tough right-handed hitters. Jesse throws a rising fastball, a slider, a changeup, and what we call a backdoor curve, which is one of his best pitches. He likes to dive it on the outside corner for strikes. Jesse has a tendency to run deep counts on hitters because he has so many pitches. He doesn't know which one to throw sometimes. This leads to a lot of walks and some trouble. Let's also watch how he pitches against his old teammates, the New York Mets.
Tape before the playoffs, obviously, the asterisk, no Jay Howell now, but that's really not applicable in this situation anyway, because he comes in with a game on the line, 1 out, 2 men on to get the left-handers. So Lasorda passed up a chance to bring Orozco in to face Strawberry in the 10th, but he can't pass up this opportunity here. He felt Pena would be better suited to keep the Mets in check in the 10th inning, but he opts for Orozco here over Leary, since Leary was really out of his element as a relief pitcher. So here we go. Hernandez at the plate. 5-4 LA. Bottom of the 12th. Darling at second. Tying run. Winning run Mazzilli at first. One and oh.
I think he crossed him up. Dempsey's out there right now to talk to him. Well, that could be, you know, when the season's on the line and that ball could have gotten by Dempsey and put runners at second and third on a cross-up, Dempsey's going to make sure.
Is that Hershiser in the bullpen? It's very dark out there. I'm looking out in the left field pen.
Looks like him.
It's Orel. It is. It's Hershiser throwing in the bullpen.
How bizarre is this?
Again, it's harder to, you saw a picture of, there's Orel Hershiser warming up, but, you know, talking about that crossing somebody up, if I think Dempsey assumed a fastball was coming. Now, if he had called for a breaking ball and got the fastball, it would have gone right by him.
You call for that local, you get the express, it can take your head off. You can adjust to the breaking ball, just like in hitting.
1 ball, no strikes. Again, Orozco, as Schmidt said, prone to walking people. 1-1. And this is exactly where you don't want to walk somebody.
That had to be a fastball, because if he crossed him up with a breaking ball to begin with, it's now 1-0, so you got to throw the heat.
1-1. Strawberry on deck. Bottom of the 12th. Foul back, 1-2. Tying run, Darling. Winning run, Mazzilli.
Judging from that sequence, it looks like Orozco is going to try to pitch Hernandez inside with a fastball.
1-2 the count. Inside, 2-2.
Of course, that is his, I would say, his basic weakness inside. But the one thing Keith does do, even though we saw him strike out last time, is that he does make contact. And may not like to be called that. Even though he can drive the ball left field, he is a flare hitter. I mean, he will hit a lot of balls off his fist and dump them over the infield. So
especially with 2 strikes, Jim, because
he protects
yes, exactly protects the outside. Therefore, he's vulnerable inside.
Breaking ball, missing inside, 3-2.
Now do you send the runners? I'm not sure whether Darling knows the steal sign. He's at second base.
If he doesn't, he should call timeout.
He's a pitcher.
Well, what do they know?
But he's a Yaley. He should know. And Hernandez backs out.
Well, brings up a good point. There is not one American League pitcher that would ever know the signs. He doesn't have to. National League pitcher, more versatile players. Occasionally they get to second base.
3-2 the count. 1 out. Dodgers lead 5-4 in the 12th. And he walks him. And Strawberry comes up. And Lasorda must be wondering if there's a 24-hour hotline to the Player Relations Committee so they can file their grievance and suspend the suspension.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for Flair, but if you're trying to get to a World Series and there's any possibility that one of your players who's been suspended has a right to appeal that suspension, maybe you don't suggest it to him, but you go to your best friend and tell him to call Donald Fear.
Well, that's the story outside the story right now.
What's more pressing probably is where do you play your infield now? Looks like they're going to play in double play depth. You have a very strong hitter up.
Well, you got to do that, Timmy, because
that's right.
You give him a tying run and you don't lose.
Yep. And Strawberry, there's no way you can play even halfway here. You got to play double play depth.
1-0.
But the bottom line is Orozco has to throw the ball over. You know, a lot of times this is what Tommy's going to tell him. Hey, nothing happens until you have them swing.
What's the matter with the first couple of words out of his mouth?
How about that?
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Well, how many times have you seen? That's been, in good measure, Orozco's problem the last couple of years. He comes in and he walks the first guy.
Well, you know, he has said on many occasions he's been mishandled, infrequently pitching. But if you don't throw the ball over, you can't help your ball club.
1-0 to Strawberry. Foul back, and the count is 1-1. Tying run, Darling at third. Winning run, Mazzilli at second.
Strawberry singled to left field off Orozco in game 2. So he's 1 for 1 against Orozco during the series.
Strike. Beauty. 1-2. What a pitch. Popped up. The infield fly rule is in effect. Automatic out. Sacks. 2 down. This game is unbelievable. And now here comes Perinoski. You got McReynolds. You got Hershiser in the bullpen, who pitched game 1 Tuesday. Pitched yesterday, as you all know. 1 out to get.
How about the brief but stern message delivered by Lasorda? 1-0 to Strawberry. He came in with the fastball and 2 breaking balls gets him. Tommy might try that strategy more often.
Well, Lasorda, he is so furious right now with the suspension. I mean, you can see it. You know what's going on in his mind. He's got to bring Hershiser in here. He has to. He has 2 pitchers left. Orel and tomorrow, today's starter, in fact, Tim Belcher, who pitches here in about 11 and a half hours. That's it. This is the 7th man on what's now an 8-man staff coming into pitch. The 9th is back in a hotel on suspension.
So this is truly all or nothing at all.
This is...
I think if you could read lips, you're also upset. Tommy was pretty upset with Jesse for not throwing the ball over the plate. Very simple.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I played for a manager that may go to the Hall of Fame. That's Earl Weaver. And the one thing that would irritate him more than anything was pitchers that would not throw strikes.
I think that's almost a universal
Yes,
feeling about most managers, about all managers.
And yeah, and it even irritates the players. I mean, the players realize, hey, this guy is trying to throw the ball over the plate, but I'll tell you what, tougher to play behind and frustrating.
This is a scenario that couldn't have been imagined. You sort of had the feeling tonight that the Howell suspension would play a major part in a game if the game was close. But never in your wildest dreams would you ever imagine Orel Hershiser coming into pitch.
This was Leary's 2nd relief appearance of the year, the first in LCS play, and it's also Hershiser's 2nd relief appearance of the year. Here's a guy who might win the MVP and the Cy Young Award, and he's got a relief appearance this year.
McReynolds, that's his career against Orozco, and Lasorda knows that very well. And of course, against Hershiser, it's a whole other story. 171.
Well, yeah, but those stats don't reflect that Orel threw 111 pitches yesterday.
But still, you know, if you're Lasorda here, I mean, let's face it, you're talking about the pennant right now. You're down 3-1 and you lose this game. You know, I don't know how you bounce back tomorrow.
When we talked earlier, we said you have to play for today. And today is, or actually yesterday when this game started, and now tomorrow, you got to bring in.
You know, I would assume, I mean, think if this game, let's say the Mets tie this game right now, I don't know for certain. I haven't seen Belcher tonight. I would guess he's back. He might be back at the hotel,
I would
too.
think he would be. Yeah.
This is it, folks. You're talking about Hershiser going the rest of the game.
That's right.
I mean, you can't even use Danny Heap, who pitched in relief in a mop-up role this year, the first baseman outfielder. So Lasorda's worst nightmare would be for this game to wind up tied through 12. Well, it's his 2nd worst nightmare, but you know what I mean. There's the tying run, Darling, and there's the winning run, Mazzilli. McReynolds at the plate. Foul back, just above us. 0-1.
Tell you what, they call him bulldog, and what a great philosophy of pitching. Come right after you, try to get ahead, and seize the advantage early.
If he gets McReynolds out, he might be a pedigree.
Best in show. All time. He worked 7 innings yesterday on a brutally cold afternoon. 1-1. Broken bat looper, shallow center field. In comes Shelby and makes the catch. And when you write the story of this game, where in the world do you begin? A broken bat, and Shelby read it dead right. It's the type of ball, oftentimes you'll get a late start on it because it's not hit as far as you think it is.
I'll tell you what, Tommy Lasorda probably had visions of game 1 when Gary Carter dropped the double in front of Shelby. It hit his glove and 2 runs scored, and the Mets won it 3-2. Different story here tonight.
Tommy, and about 54,000 at Shea Stadium.
And about $8 million in Los Angeles.
Oh, boy.
Does it remind you of when Gibson last year to keep the Tigers in contention hit the home run against Toronto, and then Toronto loses 7, the Tigers go on to get into the playoffs but eventually lose?
Hit it on a Friday night, I believe, because we did that game, the last game of the season, when Tanana beat the Toronto Blue Jays. Wow.
Totally unbelievable. 12 innings. Dodgers win it 5-4. Here it is again. The series is tied at 2 games apiece. It is now a best of 3. Game 5 tomorrow. A guaranteed game 6 now in Los Angeles at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Tuesday. In what is now beginning to take its place along with the 1980 championship series between Houston and Philadelphia, and both series in '86, Houston and the Mets and the Angels and the Red Sox, as some league championship series classics.
Not only that, he's going to be back to start game 7 if it's necessary. Unbelievable.
So Hershiser gets that last out. Lasorda with the embrace. Kirk Gibson wins it with a 12th inning home run. We're trying to wire Kirk up for a brief word. And Kirk, I'll let you have the last word. If you're ready, sum it all up.
I guess I did have the last word. Fortunately, it's been terrible so far, but I guess that's why you keep swinging in case you hit it.
Orel Hershiser comes out of the bullpen. Could you ever have imagined a scenario like this to end the game?
We don't try to figure things out. I mean, we had our backs against the wall. It was just I guess you could call this a team effort if we've ever had one, and certainly didn't come easy. They certainly didn't die on us. Very happy that we tied it up. We feel that, and I said it early, that it was going to be a tough battle, and it has been. And hopefully I'll start swinging the bat and doing more of my job.
Get yourself about 2.5 hours sleep, and we'll see you back out here at noon tomorrow.
It won't matter. We won't need sleep.
I can imagine.
If we can sleep.
I can imagine. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you, Al.
We'll see you tomorrow. Kirk Gibson, a home run in the 12th inning. A sensational game at Shea Stadium tonight, which ends with the series now even at 2 games apiece. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver will see you in a few hours from Shea. Tomorrow, today, in fact, ABC Sports, noon Eastern, Game 5 of the National League Championship Series between the Dodgers and the Mets. And on ABC's Monday Night Football, the New York Giants battle the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay tuned for ABC's World News Tonight, the weekend report over most of these ABC stations. Aerial footage provided by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.